me a safe bet. I'm betting I'm not. But we're not even listening to brand new Gunther. It's diamond eyes. Gunther, you have emerald eyes. You're beautiful. Are we connected? Welcome, Club Cult. Good evening. Good evening. Award season is over. I wish I could have gotten to enjoy it more this year, but that's okay. We got participation points. At least. Pardon. Serena spam incoming. I think PB will stream for Meownday tomorrow. I'm gonna set up a few things a little bit more cohesively on my end of everything. I've never felt more professional and less efficient in my life. Having to go between my old laptop and this computer for streams. But outside of that, welcome to the Stream the Dreams Project, everybody. Flying Diesel up in here. Diesel has been such a gentleman today. I hope he acts the way that he did today every single day. He's been such a good boy. Like, he's a good boy every day, but he's an extra good boy today. He was mindful. A little mindful boy. Mr. Gunther. We got a sleeper helper over here. He loves the new chair. Really, I think he just loves the blanket on it. But that's exciting for him. Yay. It's the little things in life. And Gunther, you're just a little guy. You're just a little guy. And bop everything where I want it over here. And then I'm gonna go say hi to Void. And bop in with little Miss Peebs. This is gonna want to be over here. Oh, Gunther, big purrs. Whether it ever comes to fruition or not, I do try to prepare for future Serena. Share your purrs with the world, Gunther. You're so rumbly. He's really into the holds lately. He's never really been like a holdy boy. He's really into the melting in my arms lately. We love that for you, Gunther. Oh, good rubbins. Are you gonna help me fix the chair when we come back in? Are you? We're going into that one not knowing what we're doing. But like kinda, it can't be that difficult. There's just gonna be screws to unscrew and rescrew and tighten, theoretically. Hypothetically. Hopefully. Open your eyes wider, Gunther. You have such big, beautiful eyes, and he just like does this grumpy cat like look down all the time. You have the most beautiful green eyes. I love you. Okay, you can have the chair back now. The chair is yours. Oh, there's butt space for both of us. Still conflicted if I want to try and save this chair even more. Bring it to the French and eventually reupholster it, etc. But it does have a nice amount of butt space for both of us. Someone who frequently ends up with cats on her chair. It's space is a valuable commodity. Time and space. Time is a bit more weighted, but space is important too. Get our go stuff going. My brain doesn't like auto-tune tonight. At least that version of auto-tune. No thank you. I'm gonna try turning the music off again when we leave the stream room too. Tank test. Because I left it on the other day and then Voya wasn't feeling good the next day. Like, I can't imagine that something as small as that would make a huge difference to him. Maybe it will. I brought his fancy man rug back out. All the boys in the house are fancy men tonight. He loves his rug. So maybe that will emotionally help. I don't know, we'll see. I've put everything how it can be most comfy for him. And it just needs to be enough. I'm just baffled. Baffled by your actions, Bean. Oh, I have to, like, put effort into turning around at him now. It's so dry out. It's making my hair so fluffy. I think that's what it is, honestly. Why my hair grows faster in the winter than the summer. My hair and my skin feel better in dryness, which doesn't really make sense. I don't feel like that should be right. But whenever I'm out in the desert, if I'm in Vegas for this time of year, my skin and hair feel amazing. And it's so fucking dry in my house right now. It's static electricity everywhere. That I think that's it. My body just values dryness? I don't know. Strange. I'm gonna flip us around here. We're gonna lose audio for a sec. Boop. The clean piano only lasted for so long. It's just such an easy drop zone. I did close the secondary interior door though, which might be stressing out Voya, but that's kind of too bad because it's so cold and drafty through there. We can't have that kind of negativity in our lives. The heat was just running constantly. There were blankets and stuff over all the windows and try and get it all hunkered down as good as we could. Get a little bit of coffee for the road. Let's go see what Miss Void is up to. Gunther, you sure are really cute. Oh, yeah. Oh, big yawn. I love your beautiful green eyes. Little Bean, I love you. I love you. And Mr. Bean, we love you too. You have to do good pee-pee things in life. You have an eye booger. It's my eye booger, thank you. I stole it. I stole it. The only thing that's like still different in here is this table in the middle of everything, but I'm afraid to move it at this point because maybe he likes it. He lays up here. I don't think he would lay up here if he didn't like it. You're very silly. I'm very happy little man. Nosy rubs. Nosy rubs. Cats have scent glands on their noses like they do on their cheeks when they rub and mark on things. And they do up here too, which is why they generally have like a little bit of thinner hair over there. It accomplishes the same thing. You got stealth centers. Stealth centers. Doot doot. Doot doot. Doot doot. Doot 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 doot. You're just a 5-star kind of man, Bean. Voya's gonna need a dental soon. His other front canine has a huge cavity in it. He did a really big yawn earlier, and I saw a black spot at the bottom of it. My vet does dental month, like discounted dentals. I can't remember, either January, February, or April. One of those 3 months. And I keep meaning to ask if it's January or whenever it is so that I can schedule for him. I'm not looking forward to whenever Ringo needs a dental. Because most of the cost is weighted on medication to sedate, which goes by weight. Ringo is a big boy. He's a big boy. His medication is like 1.5 times the cost if I were to get it for Diesel or Chauncey. And on the flip side, Chauncey and Diesel are twice as much of whatever Pippi would have. Hi, baby. It's one thing I'm grateful about with people medicine. Kind of. So I'd probably get a discount, but still. Hi, Miss Void. Hello, Mama Bear. I think she's finally kind of realizing that she's solo dolo in here. And that's okay. Like, she can chill with that. But we gotta start making friends with everybody soon. Yesterday and today, she was talking up a storm a little bit. Hi, Mama Bear. Hi, Mama Bear. Oh, your birdie TV turned off. Put some birdie TV on for her. And I guess it nuked itself. Say hi, Void. Hello. Hello. I think towards the middle of this week, too, we'll start doing a low and slow DJ hour. Or like half hour-ish with Gigi. We are not making any progress. And at least she's not like upset and it's not a worse situation. Like nothing is getting worse. It's just we're not making any progress. And I don't want to have to give up. She can be warm girly. Mama, I'm trying to put this on for you. Then she doesn't need to be a barn cat girly. What's this one? Void, do you want the forest bird feeder or the snowy bird feeder? Why not the snowy bird feeder? Then you can feel like it's a tiny window. Here, let me make it big and lock the screen for you. You guys stop booping me while I'm pressing the buttons. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, you're so silly. You're so silly. Okay, we gotta lock it, dot it, polka dot it. The turn on or off autoplay thing always makes me think that that's the lock or unlock feature. It's confuddling. Miss Void. You're so pretty, little bean. Look at this little mama. She's like, what the fuck are you doing? Put me down. Hi, silly girl. You're fill your balls. Oh my goodness. You're not letting me walk. Void is doing what Chong used to do, which I realized the other day Chong hasn't done that in a while. He would rub around and run around under my feet and try to kill me while I'd be walking around. And now Void is doing just that. Welcome, Smoops. How you doing? Oh god, the weather is ass. I had to get Ringo dog food today and my car almost got stuck many times. I think if I have to go out again, I'm going to turn the traction control off. You got a foot of snow? Oh my god. Okay, I can't bitch. I think at most we got maybe like 4 or 5 inches. I cannot complain then. That's bonkers. That's way too much snow. I find it like personally offensive. I'm pretty sure they named the winter storm Fern. And they gave it such a springy name. Like fern is like leaves. It's a plant. Why do they call a winter storm fern? Why not like if they have to use an F, why not like Francis or Francine or like Francesca? No, fern. This bright green, beautiful thing. And it's winter. It's winter. Holy fuck, a foot of snow. That is no fun. That is no fun at all. Why are your burbs so quiet? There. Not that I want to hear the burp sound. You really didn't eat much today, girlfriend. Hello, hello. Okay, I'm coming in for love. I'm coming in for love. Welcome, Cygenics. There's a cloud in the sky today, so you're right there with us. You know what? Humbly, fuck you. Humbly and with love. Oh, fork you. So jealous of your weather. I think I'm more bummed to just not be in Vegas in general for the weather than for not going to the AVNs. AEE and AVN. Oh boy, you're gonna boop that over. Look at this little ninja cat tail. Little big nibbler. You're a big nibbler. There was little nibbler and now you're big nibbler. Thought it was gonna be a snowless winter. This is the first big snow you've gotten in a while. Sheesh. It's hitting like everywhere. There was a meme map that I saw earlier, and I don't remember if I saved it or not. It was like basically everywhere is fucked. Only fun part is you like us seeing the wind makes dunes out of snow. That is kind of cool. It doesn't happen in my yard because the dogs smush it all down, but it is neat to see. It's pretty. The beautiful fern snowflakes. Well, I mean, I guess snowflakes are kind of fern shaped, so they, like for each of the individual arms being so unique. But I'm personally victimized that they're calling it fern. It's not right. There's a big tropical storm forcing a low pressure cold up away for a while. Oof. Oof. I don't understand the past like 2 years of weather. I mean, this is an optimistic approach and I'm probably wrong, but I really don't have like any faith for the rest of my existence for having consistent weather to anything that I've grown up with in my timeline. She's such a happy girl tonight. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Like there's been isolated weird weather. And then now just the past couple of years it's fucked. Like this was the first, I don't think we had any tornado sirens this summer. This was the first summer I think we didn't have any tornado sirens. But now we're having this snow again. And like I can understand every like 50 or 100 years. Okay, cool. But this is what, like the third or fourth polar vortex we've had in the last 10 years. Because I was in Vegas for the first-ish one. And I remember reading in, my uncle has some of my great grandma's old diaries. And the last one we had before that was Stormwatch 99. And then probably a few ones in between, but she wrote about one in like 1924. So I was like, okay, it kind of makes sense for like 100 years. It'll go around, it'll come back again, and it'll do what it's doing. She's gonna play with the birds. The burbs! The burbs! But no, there's the Arctic frost thing in like 2018, end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I think. And then like 2-3 years ago, and then last year, and then this year, because last year I definitely had the AstroTurf out for the dogs. It's fucked. I don't like it. And I have chosen to stay in the Midwest. For what reason, I don't know. Because that's where my vet is. And I love my vet. It's literally like 99% of the factor of where I stay. Meteorological science may as well just be tea leaves as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I would kind of agree with that. But I do feel like things have been cyclical up until, I don't know, probably like the 80s forward. And that's a lot of human damage leading up to that point forward. But it was still consistent, like, up until my early 20s. It's just been a fucking mess. It's been a mess. It's terrible out, Void. I haven't seen Bear or Orangey this whole time. Bear came by the first night it started to get really cold. So I think the last time I actually saw you guys versus PB streaming. And then no one's been by since. And I really fucking hope they're okay. I don't know. I should have been more proactive. I should have just like trapped with no TNR appointment and then worried about that later and then like brought them inside. I'm scared. But they're smart. They're gonna find garages and stuff to warm up in. I wish my garage was more tidy. My garage is kind of a disaster zone that I deal with every summer. And then make it nice again, and then it gets messy over the end of summer and fall, and then the winter it's just like shove everything in there that needs to go into the garage. I wish I had the garage set up for the buddies. I think once it's a little bit warmer, I'm gonna try and clean up the garage, at least like a corner of it, and then I'll leave it cracked. Because no one's gonna steal my car. My car don't move. It's on jacks. I don't have any valuable tools in there. Like it's not something I'm worried about. I'm gonna try and throw one of the dog crates out there and put some hays for horses, straws for strays. Put some straw in for the strays. Welcome, West End. If you're having a lovely night so far. Welcome to the slouch zone in the couch zone. Posture is god awful right now. Sometimes bad posture is comfortable for just a few minutes, though. Like, you contract yourself differently. And then pop your knees. As a kid, you thought a meteorologist studied meteors? You know what? I thought that too. So it's not that far off. The garage is just a big junk drawer with big junk. You know, instead of like paper clips, there's sawhorses. Instead of like little bags of screws, there's big bags of dirt. There's a lot going on in there. Or it's just like heavy stuff that takes effort to move out of the way than like little knickknacks to clean up. Thankfully. So like a Jarl in Skyrim. It can be comfy though. I don't know. Oh, Void really likes the bird TV. I've been changing the channel for her every day, so it's like different. I locked the screen. He pet the bird. Pet the bird. Go out into the tundra today because Ringo is going to run out of food. I thought he had enough food, and I need to remember that when there's like a third of food in the bin, it really just means that there's less than a week of food because he eats 6 cups a day. I'm going to go out and get Ringo food today, and my body does not like breathing the air. My car wanted to get stuck. It has traction control, and I think I need to turn that off. Otherwise, everything like locks up, and I can't murt my way out. I missed my truck. I knew there was going to be a winter at some point where I missed my truck. Can never throw away good sawhorses. No, you can't. I pulled mine off the side of the road, and shame on someone for that because they're mine now. I like junk collecting. I like shopping in garbage. But that's how you get sawhorses. That's how you get fancy chairs. That's how you get Ethan Allen couches. You just gotta know where to look. Just gotta know. I think it does help though that like I'm in like the outskirts of the not greatest part of town, but right next to me is like a nice historical area. So I walk the dogs 2 blocks over when it's warm enough and there's really nice shit. Or I walk the dogs 2 blocks over the other way and you know you hope to have Chauncey with you. It's it's interesting. But I think that does help. To like lay down like I am now, like worming it. It's comfy sometimes though. I like melting out of my chair. Floyd. Floyd wants to stop the world and melt with you guys, Club Cult. Baby girl. Oh, you're an armpit lady. Hello. Hello, mama. Hello, mamacita. Welcome on. I hope you're having a lovely night so far. Your old desk was just a couple of sawhorses and some laminate plywood for a while. You know what? If it works, it works. And I bet it was sturdy. For a while, my first stream desk, when I first started camming, was 2, what are they called? 2 bar stools with 2 pieces of spare shelving that were in my garage on top of it, which was pretty rickety. It wasn't great. But it was nice. Then I got some sort of desk or table. What did I use to stream on? I feel like I had a crappy... Oh, I did have a crappy desk that I eventually threw away. I upgraded to that. That was either a Goodwill find or a garbage find. I don't remember which. And then that became a plant holder. The shelves and stools. It's a little plant display. You guys, I'm so bummed. I now have a deal with my dad set in place to where if he's going to get rid of any furniture, he needs to tell me first. Because I was at his house the other day visiting Daisy, and oh, I still keep forgetting to post Simon in the Discord with his monkey tail. Oopsies. I was visiting Daisy, and my dad used to have this beautiful mirror and like shelving thing behind the bar area downstairs, and it wasn't there anymore. And I was like, oh, where did that go? Like, did you put it in storage, or like, is it somewhere else in the house? He's like, I threw it away. Sir, it is a beautiful piece of furniture. Don't do that. So it's gone. It's just gone. Like, I know I'm not entitled to things. Like, I shouldn't just think, like, oh, because my dad has it, I can have it. But, like, if you're going to... He doesn't think. I don't know if that's just him, or a dad thing, or a man thing. He doesn't think. He doesn't think. And I have so many good memories playing with my dolls and my Lincoln Logs on that bar with the mirror behind me and like looking at their little reflections. And when I have to clean house, to clean it ever so carefully because I was always afraid of it falling off the wall. How my dad even carried it, I don't know, but it just. I'm sad. It's literally just a stupid thing, but it would have matched most of the stream room furniture. It would have been nice to put up on something. Or even at the French, like over like a fake fireplace situation, like a mantle. It was fancy. It was fancy. Boyd, I love you. Creepy finger. Hi. I love you, Mama. She's so cute. She was having some big feelings earlier. We gotta get you acclimated with the zoo. PB is feeling more comfy with Chauncey, which is cool. If my vet tech ends up adopting her. She has dogs. I just don't remember if she has small dogs or big dogs. She has, oh my gosh, she makes me feel so much better about my zoo. Her zoo is like 30, between like 30 to 40 animals, but she has reptiles, she has spiders, she has snakes in addition to like dogs and cats and bunnies, etc. So she just has a lot of little guys. She has some beetles too. The big ones with the pinchers that are like that big. I don't know what to call them. I don't know what they're called. But she makes me feel so much better about the volume of my zoo. It's hard to gauge someone's emotional attachment to something sometimes. I think if Father TV knew you had good memories with it, he wouldn't have tossed it. Perhaps. That is true. Although I don't think I've been good about like vocalizing what I actually like in life though. So that's probably partially my fault as well. Because I've bitched a couple of times about the campground that we used to go to and how I screwed up my membership for having it for like 2 more years by getting married and all of that, and then not being put back on the list when my dad got rid of his thing. And like, I don't know, like, how can you see your kid running around at the beach and not know that they're having fun? Like fishing, like not know that they're having fun? I don't know. But maybe I'm just not good at like actually showing what I enjoy or not. That's possible. I'm still mad over that though, because it's expensive. And the waiting list is long, and you have like no chance of getting there until retirement unless your family grandfathers you in. And it has to be a parent. I can't just have my uncles. My dad surrendered his. That I feel like he had to have known that I liked. But my dad is also like socially awkward, and when you're socially awkward, you have trouble like reading other people's like social cues too. I know I definitely do. I'm weird. It's probably both of our faults. Therefore, it's neither of our faults. It cancels out. Boyd says hi. Those beetles with the big pinchers are what inspired Pokemon? What? I think I just saw the other day, partially related, but kind of unrelated. Pal World won their lawsuit with Pokemon that they're not infringing on copyright or characters with it, I think. I have no interest in playing Pal World, but I find little things like that interesting, like likeness versus actuality. And I think they just won their lawsuit against the Pigmans. Gotta catch 'em all, kitties. We play our own version of Pokemon Go over here. We play Pokemon Go in the house. That is true. Some fun you grow out of, too. That's very true. It was popular for kids in Japan to raise big beetles for battles on the playground. Oh my god. Those are brave children. You could not have paid me enough to play with beetles when I was a kid. You could not have bribed me with enough candy or macaroni and cheese to play with beetles as a kid. Miss Boyd, I love you, Mama. I think she is satisfied. Can hop in with little Miss PB. Palworld's doing collab with Terraria. Ooh, what's that gonna be like? Is this just gonna be like a change of environment, or are they gonna like invite new characters, creatures? That's cool. New Palworld was gonna be able to fend it off because it took so long for Nintendo to pounce. They're really reaching. That's actually a very astute observation because you are correct. Nintendo is right up there with Disney for defending, and defending. Both are true. Only one was a misspoke. For defending their IPs. They're on that shit like white on rice. Which is understandable, but also kind of ridiculous. I'm like small scale Disney for that stuff. I submit DMCA things like I used to do it every day. But that's only because my kick streams were being uploaded to corn sites and that didn't make sense to me. But that was also when I was primarily streaming in bikinis too. So I think there was just like some kind of auto grabber bot out there that was just like Serena TV streaming early AI detection that there is a lack of clothes. Okay, put it up there. Now I only have to do DMCAs like once a week ish, usually. Some of the pals from the games are going to be Terraria's battle pets. Oh, that's neat! I don't know too much about Terraria, but it looks really cute and sweet. Apparently you can pick the fire one and use it as a flamethrower. Oh my god. That's cool. That's going to be exciting. PB has like the most awkward little setup right now. We got to be able to... I don't think I turned off the PlayStation. Get the Chauncey in here. So her world has shrunk a little bit, and that's okay. We will reevaluate as she gets bigger. Boop boop. Swap into clothes and grab milkies. Milk, milk, not go. Not go. Slavko, why do we have that there for you? Not one step over that, which we shall. Oh, I didn't turn off the music in the boys' room. I forgot. I don't know. Maybe that bothers Boya. I don't know. Okay, Bubbaloo. Let's go to feed the baby. Boys need to clock in for the night. Boop. I need to change clothes real quick.
Terraria is probably one of the greatest games you've ever played. Aw. So few developers keep making free content for their games this many years running. How long has Terraria been around? I'm awkward with side-scrollery. It's clunky for me. I'm sure if I played it enough over and over and over again, I could be relatively proficient at it. But that's not something I could probably just pick up and succeed with. Since 2011? Damn, that's 15 years? That's so cool. Good on them. Wait, I'm sure you can tell from the game, like from the start, that they're passionate about it. But to keep it running that long and to maintain passion with it is... It's hard to do. I mean, imagine like being interested in the same thing for 15 years. That's pretty rare. That's very exciting. Just based on merit. I think I want to try it one day. You care that much about your game, then I can try to care about it too. Where'd I put my slippers? I'm very disorganized in here at the moment. Like, I just don't remember where I put everything to make it tidy. I just don't recall. I do declare. Beeps time. I do not know how to set the camera up in here. I wonder if I can just like corner it. Because we have the FlexiPod. The flexible tripod. Why that needs to be sung in the tone of detachable penis, I don't know. But it's the flexible tripod. I mean, that kind of works. I'm forever the headless streamer. I'm going to change my username to that. But that's fine. We're here for PB. Is it on? I'm guessing it would be on Steam. If it's on Steam, I'll throw it on my listy. So I don't forget about it. Hi! She says, get me out of there. Oh, good girl. She didn't eat very much this morning. I'm glad to see most of her food is like halfway down. Now she ate a lot this afternoon because it was like up to here. Good job. Good job. I'm very proud of you. Glad I bought another box of gloves. I really didn't think I'd go through these that fast, but when I'm changing gloves like 8 times a day, that's a lot of gloves. That's 16 gloves a day out of 100. Like, think about these things statistically, Serena. I have to take you guys to Sam's sometime soon so I can get like the big... I want to literally find the biggest thing of frozen chicken nuggets I can. Like the... Oh, what's the... Who are they? Like a Duggar's family sized thing of chicken nuggets. Enough to feed the Duggars for a year. That's how much chicken nuggets I want. It's a steamy game. I blame being online way too young in the early years of the internet for relating too much to the detachable penis song. It's steamy. You hear that, Peebs? She says, let me out. I want to beat up on that dog you keep bringing in my room. No, not vegan ones. One's for Chauncey. Actual, real chicken nuggets. Real nasty chicken nuggets that probably are filled with rib meat and other disgusting things, but baby gets what baby wants. Whether baby is baby or baby is 60 pounds. Actually, 58 pounds. Chauncey refuses to ever go over 60 pounds. He's been like 59.8 before, but he's really difficult to dose with medication because usually for dogs, there's like a dosage up to 60 pounds and then like 60 pounds and over, and he's always right at the cusp of 60, and we can't over medicate him. So he gets weird dosages. You're so cute. I want to do snuggle time. I need baby snuggles. You're getting a bath from your mom. Don't you know? She was chilling with us and doing biscuits earlier. I think she's kind of sick of my shit right now. She's so fluffy. Look at this hair. like an adult cat coat. It's bonkers to me. It's bonkers. She's still a little shitten, but her tummy feels less bloated to me, which I think she's clearing up with worms. And she is not anywhere near as bony as when she first came to me, which is wonderful. You're getting chunky. She's a little bit over what the healthy weight is for her age right now. Let's see, I'm a little bit worried, although not too worried, because she went from, yesterday was 1,176 grams, and today was, I can't read my own handwriting, only 3 grams up, 1,179 grams. So, I'm hoping that's not a big deal. I wonder if I can turn this and that's better. We'll see what she weighs in at tomorrow, and then we'll hit the panic button if we need to. What the hell was that? Something just made a weird groaning sound. I think it was one of the dogs, but that was a weird one. That was a very weird one. Does that mean we have to get Chauncey a deep fryer? I don't think he'd say no to that. I don't think so. You were such a good girl. She was being curious with him earlier instead of scared, which was nice. She wasn't scared last night, but she was caught off guard. Like, she did not know what to do. But realistically, it would be good for her to get to know dogs. Makes her more adoptable, even though she's kind of spoken for, but we want everyone to have the best chance. I'm considering, too, as long as Void wouldn't be too nosy, if I want to just open up her door while Chauncey is in here, because Chauncey won't get up to sniff. Like, he will just lay there and chill and do his own thing. Like, gets along great with the cats. He loves the cats, but he pays them no mind, which is wonderful. He's a good boy. He had some drama with Chong, like the first 2 years that I had him, because we had to do eye drops. Chong zooms around, and him and Kid play too, but he was like the only one that was zooming around. Kid is a bit more skulky about it. Chong is kind of unhinged. We love that for him. And every once in a while, he would just bark at him. That worried me, so I made sure to correct that each time, and now he doesn't pay them any mind. He's like, oh, the cat's running, no big deal. No big deal. Num 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 num. Medicine. I'm so surprised she takes this so good. Stripes and Nibbler and Daisy were about it. But they were also older. They had, more growth and fight to them about it. She was very cute on High Alert. Like, imagine this little thing, like, standing up in battle, preparing to fight you. Like, she was ready. She wasn't freaking out, but she's brave. She was ready. She's a strong little monkey. She's like, what is this thing? I'm sure being born outside, she's seen dogs. I would think if she was chased by a dog, one, she probably wouldn't remember it, because she's just a baby. And two, I don't remember what number 2 was supposed to be. But I think it'll be good for her to get to know dogs. There we go. It's like 1.7. That's close enough. Pretty terrified she could take you. Oh my goodness. She would take you and demand to be taken home. Need drinkies? Milkies. Ready? She's so weird. I love that she likes this, but she just doesn't drink it out of the bottle. It'd be so much easier if you just drink it out of the bottle. You gotta start opening your mouth there. You don't want milk? Yes, you do. There you go. Good little stinky. She's like, you're making me fat, lady. Calm down. You gotta be a little fat right now, girlfriend. You have a lot of a lot of muscle mass and whatnot to make up for. Nom 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 nom. Yummy. That's a very good job. That's a very good job. Okay, let's do your pumpkin. Pumpkin for the pumpkin. PB and BP. Baby pumpkin for the pretty baby. Is that even sucking anything up? No. I can't like water it down too much because then it's counterproductive. It's so hard to get a puree into a syringe. There's a book series that my niece really liked that I think started coming out as I was like getting out of obsessively reading everything that I could get my hands on. The Warrior Cat series. And she reminds me of the little book covers, like they're all stout and battle ready. It's pumpkin. This one you like less. I'm sorry. This one you just gotta shove it down. There you go. Good job. Good job. I am proud of her though. She's on the path to solid. We're not there yet, but we're on the path in life to solid. I got pumpkin on my fingies. Eh. You just flecked it out of your mouth at my hand. Good aim. Good aim. Alright, you got your wash. I'm good to go, girlie. You gotta clean your little boxy. You got your medicines. You got your milkies. Why is she so cute? She has no business being so cute. She's just a little bean. You're so stumpy. Are you going to be proportionate? Are you going to be a normal-sized cat? Her tail kind of poofed up at Chauncey yesterday, too, and it was really funny. Because it only can poof out, like, about that far. For her body being so thick. It's amazing, actually. Like, nature is wild. So her cheeks are super thick. Her head is super thick. Her torso is super thick. But she has little baby hairs, like just normal hair on her feet. But then her paw pads are really thick. And then her tail, I mean, she's been shaved a little bit over here because she was a poopy baby, little PB. Her tail is so thick up until like the last couple of inches. Like her body was prepared to protect all of the vital organs. Like our hands and feet and nose and whatnot get cold first because we're busy warming up our liver and our kidneys and our lungs and our stomach and all of that. And that's her little friend. It's incredible. I don't know why I'm more like shocked by it happening to an animal than like a person, but it's just like she's just a baby and her body made her for survival. Yeah, it's your little warrior cat. I know, you're looking for my drawstring and I think I accidentally tucked it in. I'm finding it. Okay, there you go. There's it. Where's that? Where's that? Actually, I don't think you really used your box. I don't know why she keeps laying in the litter box. Usually cats do that when they're stressed out or like scared. And I cannot find any other signs that she is either, like stressed out and or scared. I don't really understand the laying in the litter box thing. The only thing I can think of is maybe she gets warm and that's like a cool spot. So maybe I'll try putting like I don't know, not like a baking sheet, but like some kind of sheet of plastic or something in there. And then she has a cool spot to lay on because there's a rug underneath all of this it's my favorite rug and I'm gonna have to throw it away because she pottied on it. And just I don't feel like that's ever a cleanable thing at this point. I don't know. We'll evaluate the damage as we need to as we go. But she had a first day home raunchy incident on it, and I don't think we're gonna be taking it to the French. I do love this rug though. It makes me sad. Oops. But I think that's why she's laying in the box. Is that why? I don't know. You gotta tell me with your words. I just find it so interesting how different her demeanor is than. I feel like she's more confident than at least Stripes and Nibbler. Daisy is very confident. She's running my dad's house right now. She is the alpha. She is in charge. She has taken over. But how they would like jump on me and just be extremely active. She's not there yet. Maybe she's just still building up her energy. I don't know. I know she can jump high because when I rescued her, she was on top of a fence. But she doesn't even try to climb the walls in the inside here. I feel like she's too young to do the whole, like, grateful thank you for saving me, though. Like, she doesn't know any better. She just got abducted by aliens. That's my new favorite reminder for any cat that I rescue is that, well, dogs too, is that they're gonna feel like they're being abducted by aliens. So to just be mindful and relax with the process. Which I know anyway. But I feel like that very much so with Gigi. I keep telling her I'm sorry I abducted her. Is Daisy at her forever home or is it still trial run territory? So my dad was gonna wait until this weekend, like yesterday or today, to pay me and sign the adoption paperwork and all of that. Which I would have loved to do a family discount, but vet bills be costing money, and that just can't be done. And my dad was fine with it. It's okay. I just feel like an asshole. Like, you're my dad, and I can't even give you a free kitten. Um, he decided this week is like a blur in my head. I think it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I stopped over there and he wrote me the check and we filled out all the paperwork then. So she was there for like 48 hours before my dad decided like yes, this is happening. Her and Mushi are playing a bunch. Simon is in love with her. Nermal, my dad's super shy cat, is in love with her. Nermal is pretty sick right now. My dad doesn't think he's gonna be around much longer, which sucks. My dad adopted Nermal right after I moved out. He needed like a quiet, sweet presence in his house that I am not. And Nermal's so lucky. Like, he has a few issues and he would have definitely been returned to the shelter. And if my dad didn't have him, he would probably not have ever gotten a home unless someone crazy like me went in there. Um, so it's really nice to see Nermal with Daisy and like having this hot little girlfriend in his last years of life, kind of like Anna Nicole Smith's husband. I don't know why I can't remember his name right now, but I can't. That's what I feel like their relationship is. Her and Sylvester are coexisting. He hasn't had them fully introduced yet, only behind barriers, and they've done okay with it, but Sylvester's kind of baffled by her. Like, he has this, like, shocked look on his face whenever he sees her, and it's really funny. It's like, what are you? You're big, but you're small, but you're big, but you're small. But her and Mushi are having so much fun. My dad made a comment when I called him the other day to ask how it was going still. He's like, it's been a long time since I've had two young cats running around the house. Like, well, is that a good thing? Or like what's the real feeling there versus the just straight layout? He's like, it's a good thing. It makes him happy. It was the perfect accident for it to go this way. I wasn't trying to dump a cat on my dad, but I'm really glad it's working out good. He sounds about as happy as when he first bought his most recent Porsche, so I think that's a good sign. Aww. Think any of the fuzzy buddies that end up in the TV family are pretty lucky? I'd like to think so. Daisy is like, she is the princess life, though. Oh my god, she really is like a little Anna Nicole Smith. She went from this tiny little bedroom to over 2,000 square feet of explore, plus a basement. So, like, 4,000 square feet. Like, for a cat, that is like a mega mansion. It makes me so happy that she has so much fun running around and being so silly and sweet. She's doing that thing to my dad where, like, the love is not enough, though. Where, you pet her and then she's crying at you, like meowing. Then you have to pet her with the other hand. And then she still meows because it's not enough. My dad's like, what do I have to do? Build a Doc Ock suit? I'm so happy, though. Not just selfishly because I can visit her and see her anytime that I want. But because I know that she's going to be indoors, she's going to be safe, she's going to be happy, she's going to be taken care of. And on the plus side, because Nermal has been losing weight, there's kitten food out to eat that Nermal really, really likes. And kitten food is higher in calories. So maybe we can get some pounds back on the boy. I still can't believe I got to pet Nermal. For the first time in 13 years. It's crazy. It's crazy. You're so cute and silly. We gotta find a new fixation other than drawstring. Are you gonna try and run away with it? Just thinking about it. Hi. Well, come here. Let me love you. I love you. They deserve all the spoils. Like Chauncey in his fancy new bathrobe today. He got a parka too. I know it's the wrong colors, but it reminds me of the Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. Hi, baby. There was one that was like more manly colored, like red with checkered hearts, but it was kind of ugly. I feel like he likes this one. I didn't take him with me though. Mostly because I was parked in front, and if I would have just taken him out back, it would have been fine. But I didn't want to walk him all the way around to the front and make his toes cold. Sometimes living your best life isn't living as long as possible, but the quality of life that you live. I think more than sometimes. I mean, it's always quality over quantity. You never know how many years you have with your buddies, whether they're fluffy or two-legged. You never know how many years you have. Just making the most and best of each day that comes forward. And knowing that if you don't do your best that day, you can probably still try again tomorrow. And that's enough hope to hold on to. Especially with these guys. We're their whole world, and they have such a short time on this earth comparatively. His best life. They gotta give you your best life. I owe you that much. Oh. She rumble tumble. That's not best quality of life. That's dumbass moves. That's not what we do. You're such a little foof. You're such a little foof. For better or for worse, I will literally miss anything in life at the zoo. Because their quality of life is my quality of life. Which is a bit counterproductive at times. Because then, we gotta go to the vet. And the vet costs money. And if you don't work, then you don't make money. But on the flip side, the love is there. The love is there. 100%. The love is all that matters. This little gremlin. I love her so much. Love her little motor. Listen to that. How does she purr so big? How? You're just a tiny baby. I swear, 500 of those grams in you, they're all made of purrs. It's not kitty per gram, it's per grams. I love you. I love you, I love you, I love you. Alright, sister. I'm gonna try and fix my chair tonight. Do you believe in me? Do you believe in me? Boop. Do you believe in me? I believe in string. Boop, boop. Sometimes hair is string, too. Where you going, little gremlin? I thought maybe she would climb up the sides of this. So that's why I didn't set it up like this for the last letter. But so far, she has no interest in climbing around with it. I don't even know where she is right now. There she is. This little baby going everywhere. That's what Peebs do. That's what Peebs do best. She's just such a little potato. Like, what else do you describe her as? She's such a little potato. She's a potato. She's a potato. She's a potato. You're a fall down potato. You're a mashed potato now. Come here, sis. That's laundry. Bloop. Boop. Stop. Don't talk to me. Loser, lame, I wanna be like, oh. I found that clip just scrolling earlier. From when Orange is the New Black redid it. And now I can't get it out of my head. I don't think I ever finished that series. I think I got about 2/3 through it. And then I was waiting for new seasons to come out, and then I abandoned it. You ready to relax, girly pop? You knocked over your camera. Your camera. Throw your little friend over there. I like actually throw your little friend, but you know. Hey, little mama. Are you stealthy? Are you stealthy? There were some very good story arcs in Orange is the New Black. I enjoyed it very much. It was very well done. The same person who did Weeds either did it herself or co-collaborated with someone else. I think other episodes were written by other people. But I think it was mostly put out by Genji Kohan. And I really liked how involved and jump aroundy Weeds was. Like, usually that's annoying in TV shows, but it somehow worked out really well for the storyline in Weeds. And it worked out really, really well in Orange is the New Black as well. I didn't think I would like it, and then I liked it because of how she made it. Some of the ice stuff they delved into made you a little sad. Yeah. It's even sadder that it's like just as relevant, if not more relevant now than when it was written. But the fact that they're able to like touch on such touchy subjects in a very realistic way, still within a fictional show, but have it absolutely mirror real life was, I feel like, very informative, like giving you a first-hand perspective without the stress of watching the news. Oh, so you gonna take it and run. Oh, you lost it. Definitely dramatized, but probably one of the few shows of its kind in that genre that was able to be very realistic upon what reality is versus a made-up world. And of course, Alex Voss. We got more Donna Pinciotti. You can't complain about that. All right, baby girl. I love you. Give kiss. Give kiss. Give Club Cold kiss. Give kiss. Give kiss. Mwah. We're gonna go fix mommy's chair. Yes, we're gonna play some zombies. Figure out what all the buttons do. I don't think I retained anything from our last playthrough except go on the board game path and poke whoever gets bit in the booty and titties. That was about, I think, about all I figured out. Stop. Don't talk to me. Loser, lame, I wanna be like, oh. feel like I'm the dog in the kennel in here. Like, oof, roof, 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 roof. It is I, the fluffiest Frenchy fry. Oh my god, now it's even more stuck in my head. I knew I shouldn't have said it out loud. And now I just ruined everything. I ruined it. I forgot I had shorts on. I didn't have to turn the camera around. I like the shirt that I'm wearing today, but it doesn't really I don't think I look good in this color. It doesn't really match anything. I do have shorts on. It just doesn't look like it. I forgot I did though. It's like tan and I feel like it makes me look like really yellowed out. It does not complement my skin tone. Not at all. It's from I think the brand now is Get Lost Perv. I like the little bunny girl on it. But it's the same person that did the Four Eyes line. Yeah, Get Lost Perv. Bunny girl. Alright, let's pop these in the kitchen till Chauncey is cute in his bathrobe. And then we're gonna see if we can fix this chair. I have no idea what I'm doing, and I vaguely searched for a tutorial of how to adjust, and I'm not finding answers, so we're just gonna unscrew and rescrew screws until it makes sense or I officially break it. As with most quality DIY. Hi, Savka. Meow. Meow. You're funny. You're funny, honey bunny. That funny honey bunny of mine. Because this is an exterior wall, or maybe just for no reason, I don't know. The fridge was getting really, really like cold and icy, like it was freezing her milk. So I turned it down a notch, but now it's peeing all over. I know, Salko, it's horrible. The fridge is going pee-pee. It's gone pee-pee. Look at this little parka. I think this is Arcadia Bay brand. Oh no, it's Top Paw. Looks like the Arcadia Bay one though. A cute little parka. Fancy. Fancy. Slavka, you're fancy too. And look at the bathrobe, baby. He's so handsome in this. You're so handsome. We can be little old ladies together. Meow, Slavka, do you want a bathrobe too? Do you want a bathrobe too? Oh my goodness. I don't understand dog clothes sizing though, and I don't think it's universal. Because I compared the two, I thought the extra large on that would be too small for him, but it's actually a little bit too big. But I compared it to this one, which fits him perfectly, and is also an extra large, but it fits him perfectly. But it's longer, and I guess that one is wider. I don't think there's a standard on dog clothes sizing at all. I think they just look at it and say, oh, this would probably fit an extra large dog. We're going to go with that. I don't think there's any like dimensional standard yet. Don't swat it, Monster. That's not nice. Monster lives matter. Come on now. Don't be a rinky dink. Don't be a rinky dinky dink. She's a gremlin. Hi, Monster. Hi, Monster. This bed was originally for Munster, and Pippi stole it, and I'm glad Munster has reclaimed it. Oh, Chauncey. He just wants to be close to Clark. Oh, baby boy. Oh, baby boy. I love you. You're very handsome. You kicked Baby off the bed, though. Her butt's on the floor. Like, just so you know. I don't think you care, but in case you didn't know. It feels really good over here. The heat is on right now, and it's kicking. It's cozy. It's nice. It's very nice. It's very nice. Where'd you go? There you is. See, if we don't spend all day doing this, she's an insane little demon. What are you on about, lady? Double scratching kitties over here. Oh, John says, I love you, sonny boy. Alright, I gotta pee. I need to drop us off in the stream room. And then we're gonna see what we can do with this dang chair. Let's see what's up with that over there. Little bathrobe boy, you're so damn cute. Slavka, just let it be. It's melting. It's melting. It's melting. Mistakes were probably made there, but it was getting too cold. It was frozy. It was frozy. Next time I stop by my dad's, I'll get a bunch more pictures of Daisy with her new bros. Little fancy Momo. Just a fancy Momo. Slavka, don't do it. Don't do it. Is there a cat under my butt? No. This is stupid. This is how I have to run Twitch. Screaming. Just screaming. Boop. And we have returned. We have returned. Order of operations. Meds, Tinky, chair. Really hope we can fix it. That would be nice. Otherwise, I mean, it's not the worst the way it is, as long as I don't break it more. Ow. Owie. It's a little pinchy, because it's still healing over there. But I got my belly button ring back in. I'm proud of myself. I had to, like, really poke it through a little bit. It was starting to close up. But I tried it on a whim, and I don't know if I was supposed to or not. But I got it through. I'm very, very happy. It's not about having it. It's about liking having it and the money it would cost to re-pierce it. And I didn't want to do that. That was personally offensive to me. I did not want that. No, I did not. What's up, Mr. Bean? It's launch game, so it's ready. Oh, no, I didn't mean for you to make sounds. Calm down. Thank you. Calm down. Calm down. There we go. I'm gonna make a little bit more coffee too. Multi-tiered process. If you eat all of your dry food during the day, the dry food's gonna be gone, but your wet food is still there. You can vibe with that, buddy. Vibe with the wet food tribe. Okay, I shall return with more caffeinated sustenance and a happier bladder. Boop. And there, you're so cute, Sneaky. Where is you? Where's Zeke? Oh, he's on top of the cat tree in front of the black curtains. GG, Zeke. GG's. treat. I love Sofka. I love Charlie. Charlie Bear. Hello, Miss Boyd. Very good little mama. You're a very good little mama. I think I am going to start opening her door when Chauncey is in the other room with me. With Peebs. Chauncey really does just be chilling. He do be chilling. I wanted that. Why did I set that down? Oh. So that perfect temperature where it's almost too hot, but not quite. I was looking for my bathroom in the kitchen. I was like, where did I throw this? It's in the back of my chair. I found it. Alright. Oh, are you stuck on there already? I'm doing this lazy, not intelligently. Oh, it's stuck under one of my coaster rockers too. Stuck under two of them. I'm hoping all I need is my trusty screwdriver. I love my seat cushion. It is for a comfy butt. There's a tiny vacuum too. You can clean all like the floof out. Alright, let's cross some fingers and paws here, Clip Coat, that we can do things. Which way do I want to tip this? Probably on its back. Oh, I don't want to like drop it though. Maybe you don't want to aggressively flip it over. That's traumatic for kitties. Were steps taken in here? Did we do things? Yes? Oh, we did. That was
check back on the camera really quick and see who did what. I don't know who did what. Voya, as suspected. That's okay. It's good boy stuff. What time is that? 10:15. Got them all gabapentined up. So hopefully this won't be too emotionally disruptive. What do you suppose we start with? I think this controls how rickety it is. So that probably just needs to be tightened. It probably can be standing up for that one and this one too. I don't know if any of these are loose. No. A little bit. No. These are all like mostly stripped too. This one isn't. Those are tight. Okay, I may have overthought this then. I think that's the screw that locks it. I don't actually know what I'm doing here. I kind of thought I would, and I don't. So I guess we're just going to make sure everything is tight and twist this around and see what that does. It seems like a fair process of elimination to start with. It's an attempt. It's less rickety. We might really just have to do with this, which is weird. I don't know. I don't think this should be adjusted upside down though. Oh, there you go. Muscles! I went to a spring poppy. Use phone flashlight. I want a headlamp. I don't know if that's getting old or just evolving, but I want a headlamp. I just want to see if loosening it makes it worse. Yes. So we want it straight like that. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. Nope, stay up. That's so awkward. I'm never gonna be able to unscrew this. It better work. This is man's work. Oh my god, did that do it? Kind of. It's better. I don't know where I have some mineral oil. I think that would be helpful. Okay, I think that's as tight as it gets. It's a little better. I feel like I could screw it over more if I could lube it up a little bit. I don't know where I have mineral oil at the moment. I don't have any WD-40 or PB Blaster in here. All I have is canned air. I looked around earlier. I didn't feel like going to the end of the garage to find PB Blaster. But that is true. That would be helpful. Gotta call Hank Hill. Oh my god, how I showed you guys the Hank Hill rap? Coming in hot with media. It's not as bad. It's like half fixed. I'll take it. Half fixed is enough for me at the moment. I don't feel like I'm gonna fall out of it. Oh yeah, that's true. That probably wouldn't be stuff that would be safe to spray in here. We'd have to move the chair to the other room. I didn't think about that. I like it. It's fancy. Welcome, C9. Hope you're having a lovely night tonight. Where's my browser? Just the kitty cat came in. What am I looking for? There we go. That's the right letter.
Stop!
That's
Don't
what I
talk
came
to
across
me.
earlier.
Loser, lame ass wannabe, like oh.
Which they posted this 10 years ago. Oh my god. I remember seeing this on my Twitter timeline, and I once again saw it on my Twitter timeline.
Totally.
This specifically has been stuck in my head all day.
Don't talk to me. Loser, lame ass wannabe, like oh. Stop! Don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me.
Lame ass. Stop!
Cute.
Don't talk to me. Loser, lame ass wannabe.
I don't think it would be good for the boys. At least not Gunther, because he has little breathing issues. Like, totally. Like, totally.
Like totally.
It's been in my head all day.
Okay, it's like this. Stop. Don't talk to me. Loser, lame boy, wannabe. Oh, like totally. All you wanna be is me. Stay fresh.
Propane money. I think I've shown this on stream before. It's the little things in life.
I keep that thing on me. God damn it, Bobby. They see me selling propane and now they trying to copy. Pretend to be broke, but I got hella cash. If you use charcoal, I'ma kick your ass. Make this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo
It's
Escobar,
nice.
but
Oh,
I
no
sell
captions.
cocaine, bitch.
Oh, how am I
Shot
not
that fella
subbed?
'cause he
Damn,
didn't
shame
make
on you,
his
Serena.
name,
Now I
bitch.
am.
Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement. Make
There's
this
many
money
of
from
these, but
propane,
this is the
bitch.
best.
I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch. Shot that fella 'cause he didn't
It's
make
so
his
great.
name, bitch.
Welcome to
Fuck
Matt
with me,
Topher.
I
Hope
keep
you're having a
rocket
wonderful night so
launcher in
far.
my basement.
Happy
Goddamn,
Sunday
my
fun day,
Bobby
BBs.
jacking off. Syrup ain't no cop. Big Hank break the law. Lady Bird, that's my dog. Peggy got that wet, I'll flip you like a tech deck. Yeah, I run my
Every
sex
line
ed,
just
I'm
gets
running
better
up
and
them
better
check
and
checks.
better.
If you using charcoal, that's a red dot at your head. Propane till I'm dead. Bitch, I'm off the meds. We be smoking loud and you smoking on mid. Me and Dale.
Have you
getting
frozen
lit,
Sunday?
and I'm running from the feds.
I mean, I'd say the cold never bothered me
Bitch.
anyway. I'm trying to be cool about it, but it bothered me today. It's a frozen Sunday.
Shot that fella cause he didn't make his payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement. Made this money from propane, bitch. I feel like Pablo Escobar, but I don't sell cocaine, bitch.
I feel like Pablo
Shot that
Escobar, but I
fella
don't
'cause he
sell
didn't make his
cocaine, bitch.
payments. Fuck with me, I keep a rocket launcher in my basement.
I think what makes this the best is, like, in an alternate universe, you really can imagine, like, Hank Hill being this character, like, in the sense of just how rather detached he is in general as his character. It's kind of like a Walter White Breaking Bad kind of crossover-ish kind of feeling. I don't really know how to express the thought that I'm thinking, but it has the same vibe. Okay, it just does. Play some zombies. Some zombies. Is that the monitor that I want? I guess so. Fire. Fire, fire, fire. Oh, yeah. How do I have this organized? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's such a creeper. I need to change that picture. I thought it was cute, and now it's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. Auto collect AFK resources. It took my brain like 2 seconds to process that. Jeez. I slow blinked my way through it. Loot truck, survivor rescues. Jeez, a lot happened when we were offline. Get a zombies for reward. What's that? I mean, I would assume that's. Oh, you have to choose a battle. And. Stranger danger. Stranger danger. It's just gonna. Oh, there is daily reward up there. Get back over here. Boop. It's a box. It's a box. Hey, thank you so much. I appreciate the reminder. Cheers. Cheers. I've been on an instant coffee kick. Sometimes it's just so bad, it's so good. I'm enjoying this bad bitch phase of life. Hunting day. Oh, it's category. Serena. Are you crunching away, Mr. Ziki? Yes, you are. Yeah, instant coffee is bad, and it like turns your teeth yellow while you're drinking it. It's terrible. It's like the worst. But sometimes it's like the best. There's something nostalgic about it, I think. I drank almost consistently instant coffee when I lived at my apartment. I drink it when I'm traveling. Like if I'm too tired to make a cup from the coffee maker that I brought with me. Usually I like good coffee, but every once in a while I go through like a week, 2 weeks. I think it's been like most of this month that my instant coffee phase has lasted. Not that that's not nice to watch, but I've seen it a million times. I don't know why I think that there's anything. Oh, because there is something. Good job, Serena. A pat on the back. Oh. Eh?
Hang in there, kid.
I wasn't ready for my things. Calm down. Look at you, so talented. Okay, we'll look at you guys in a minute. In a minute. Specifically, Maxwell House. Instant coffee. It's good. It's so bad that it's good. Folgers is eh. Maxwell House, though. That's where it's at. Is it trying to say it doesn't fit? Do we not have that space yet? What? What is this? I'm not ready. Tomatoes! Tomatoes. Tomatoes. Oh, now it's developed. Hee hee. Now, was it asking me to move headquarters? I don't feel like that was right. I don't know. I missed something. It'll come back up. The game doesn't let you get far without meeting marks anyway. It's fine. It's fine. That's a name tag. I thought that was a paddle. That's nice. Naughty end of the world. Very naughty. The deceptive white boy. The Decepticon. Upgrade all? Okay. I think I missed that button before. That's cool beans. I don't have skills for him yet. What about your talents though, sir? You have 2. Do that one. That one. And we gotta get those 2 next time. Can only upgrade that to level 5. It's gonna take an hour. Oh, I think I pranked myself. I remember from the Game of Thrones one. The further we would get, the longer it would take for things. I don't want to use that many gems. Let it rock out for a little bit. Do what it wants to do. Calm down, sir.
We're all going to hell.
No talent.
Don't
Level up.
always be here for you, Commander.
Oh, baby. More level ups?
I'll always. Don't tell me.
Skill is at max level. Maximum skill. Like maximum ride. That was a good. Did they make that one too? A movie? That was a good book series. I forgot about that for the longest time.
I hope they don't have to wait too long.
Kind of like junior sci-fi fantasy. I don't know. I liked it. Oh, I didn't mean to use both of them for that. Dang it. Dang it, Bobby. I think you're out of level ups, friend. I think so.
The remaining supply should hold out for a while. The last bullet?
They all have all their things. Is there learnings? Oh, you can go scouting out. Should we go to an abandoned hut? There's a lot of abandoned huts. That seems sus. Survivors camp. An old hospital. I don't know. Let's try it. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's it. I thought we were gonna go places. Not disappointed, just mildly confused. They made those sneaky clicks. There's so many places. So efficient. Jeez. My backpack shall be overfloweth. Good golly. Good golly gee willikers, Batman. Chair is still rickety, but I do think I have mineral oil, I think, in my big storage grooming box stuff. Because it should be there for when I need it for clippers anyway. Pull some out of there. It's just very high up in a closet, like the closet in Zaboomafoo.
We better get to the closet.
They're going to the closet. They're going
It's
on
like
a trip.
this.
They're going to the closet to grab their stuff and split.
A leash for Myrtle. Great. Mark. Oh, yeah.
It's stacked like this.
Well, we gotta do what we gotta do.
So we must beware of that.
Let's go find our elephant.
They're going on a cool adventure and they don't know what's in store. They're coming from the closet and they're headed out the door.
Toothbrush must have passed by here.
Oh, look at Bloodhound. He's so cute. He's so cute. Ba-dum-bum-bum. I don't need to be like that ginormous. Wow, I was just like really hogging the screen, huh? Sheesh. Sheesh. That was a bit excessive. My golly. That one lady will be lucky enough to get some pants and she got boots like a week ago. Oh yeah! Fuck! I forgot that she's stuck. She's stuck, Step Rose. I don't know how to get her unstuck. How do you forget there's like a naked girl in your bathtub? I'm not proud of myself for that one. I mean, progress 50. I don't understand. I would guess we have to get that many of those. Log in for a total of 2 days. No, stranger danger. I guess those things need to be completed within 3 days. Now that's for a metamorphosis token. But does that make you dressed? I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's been known to happen. I don't know. I find that hard to believe. Important to notice. Follow us on TikTok. Zombie free day. Should we fill out the questionnaire? Let's fill out the survey. Wait, didn't I do that? Oh, that's cute. She looks like a Funko Pop. I like it, but I'm not like obsessed with loving it. What's the difference? Oh, the smile is cuter. Catwoman? Oh, you have to respond. What's the difference? Her mouth is just a little different in that one. Her mouth looks funny in that one. Thank you for your participation. Okay. From what I understand so far, it's daily and weekly quests. It's very similar, but feels a little bit more simplified than the Game of Thrones one that we went through. Because there's main events that go on everywhere, but then in your own world, there's... It seems like individualized. Oh god, what did I do? What did I do? Ah. 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 There's like our own mini quests. Like that wouldn't have been triggered until we healed her, etc. So yes? Short answer, yes. I did do a survey, but not this one. Just farming you for market research. Well, I mean, if it's free, you're the product. And right now, I'm okay with that. Eh. Eh. What are our feats? Not paws, but feats. I have, like, accomplished nothing. It's like a Spot the Difference game, right? When I clicked over the first time, I thought it was the exact same thing. Like, it was broken or something. Look like Arya Stark. How did I just get to that? Her hair's lighter, though. I don't know who else I would rather be. You have, like, end of the world wildling girl over here. Lara Croft. We're gonna be blonde soon. Let's go with her. One of these days I'll start bleaching my hair. I just need to have like a full-on mental breakdown first. We're not quite there yet. We're still having self-control. I don't think that would be anything. The wings of freedom. A box! Battle report. Oh, no thank you. No thank you. That's a bit much at the moment. Woo! 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 Stuffing things, stuffing things. Gotta catch 'em all. Got some bullets. Some shells. Someone in the game chat is speaking Elvish. Having fun talking to yourself. That's exciting. I give mad respect for that one. Is that me? Yes, thankfully. Okay. I know you're out there. Behave yourself. No peeking. What? All I have to do is well, I mean, it's there. You got more going on, girlfriend. Fair. I think there's an opportunity game design-wise. Let the player get and buy pick different outfits for the rescued NPCs. Oh, the girlies would love that. I would love that. That's all I really care about in games.
But I'll do my best.
Like The Sims, etc. Like playing with Barbies, too. I just like dressing everyone up and then I'm over it. I don't care about the storyline.
The last
Cheers to present, partner.
We had more stuff for them.
Hello?
But the headquarters needs to be upgraded first. It's gonna take an hour. plants. We have a bunch of. Oh, does it have to be specifically construction? Oh, speed up any queue. 60 minutes is overkill. Let's just let that run for the time being. It's fine. It's happy. We're over here now. We can fight some fights. It's an interesting tank. It reminds me of like some kind of crossover between like the human centipede and I don't know how because there's only one creature and an AT-AT, which is an interesting combination. Oh, we got our little droney boys. Type. Boom, baby. Oh, oh, don't eat me. Don't eat me. Please? No. Am I just a lazy clicker today that's not going swimmingly? Okay, we just passed a 40-mile-per-hour speed limit sign, and then another sign that said 30 miles per hour speed limit. Like within 5 feet of each other. So either this town is just plain ridiculous, or that's an error. I wonder if it's the same area for each battle that we go through. I'm gonna look and see again. There are games that support their free-to-play model purely on cosmetics, so they are out there. I believe it. We are visual creatures as human beings. Just naturally, whether you want to be or not. We all have a little bit of the case of, ooh, shiny. Boop, boop, boop. Oh god, man, bear pigs. It's like a smaller version and a bigger version. I don't understand them. Strong enemy incoming? That's not ideal. It's not gonna do shit. Well. Just gonna be fun. Oh, don't punch me. That was not nice. Keep your hands to yourself. Rah. Stranger danger. Control careless. That's actually a cool little screen name. District 59, District 60. I'm the queen of the districts. Oh, fuck. We gotta do things before we can do more things. I had a feeling that would happen. Is there any way that we like this to look better? That's cute. It's kind of like a little industrial cottage situation. Ours is kind of frumpy. I think I like that one. The ambiance. Excuse me. Well, those are all locked. You won't get any of those. Excuse me. Night mode? Oh. It's kind of... Does that just like change the visual? Or like the actual environment? By making it more dangerous if it's night mode? I don't know. I don't know. I kind of like it though. What are we doing with you? I still don't log in. I did log in a total of 2. Did I mean 2 days in a row? Crikey.
I get it, kid. We'll protect you.
Oh, that's where the star things were.
I hope we don't have to wait.
Couldn't
too
remember
long.
where that was. Obtain. Go look. Go see. Swoop. I think that's the last one. How is it still letting me search? We have one more than it's out? I didn't think that one was unlimited. I guess? So we haven't done an advanced search yet. What does that do? Daily task, large army complete.
What's there to be surprised about? I
Bareback
simply
grandma.
enjoy hunting.
Okay. Okay. From the mysterious merchant. He got some more skills now. Level up. Cool.
Cheers.
Schnuffin. Schnuffin.
Oh, we
Schnuffin.
almost won this. The last
Schnuffin.
book.
I hunted this bear while you were still in diapers.
Probably though.
I hunted this bear while you
I heard you the first time, Grandma. You're supposed to be hard of hearing, not me. Come on now. That's not nice. I take it back. Don't speak to your elders that way. Four, 5, 6, 7. I thought we would get all but one. Okay, I'll take it.
I hunted this.
I heard you the first time. Oh, that's what it was asking me to put down earlier. We're not there. It's so crowded in here. What is there a biohazard in there? What is happening? Who brought in the apocalypse? Come on now. Safe. Okay. Okay. Third research. What is that? Oh, it gets you more food or more wood. Oh, there's a. I need to like actually look at these things and see what they are. Eventually, I'm sure we'll get to that. That's important. That's important. That's cool. That's neat too. Oh, we're looking for specifically sheltered earlier, so is that what that is? I really thought our shelter was the headquarters. It does not seem to be clear of what is what. miss those boxes. Well then. Is that a challenge?
Long time I wondered.
Not there. Oh, there's no more to collect. Tomatoes. What doth the radio say? Don't think I've looked at the radio yet. I thought it was gonna tell me things. Oh, it is. Oh, we did look at this.
Someone, please help us.
We'll queue up missions. That's running. We'll check it out. Oh, see, that's what I thought the other thing would do, and now it has done that. How do we get back home? By the White Sand Village? No, I didn't mean to press the buttons. Is there a home button? Home. 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 Yes, I am home. Home is whenever I'm with you. Home. Let me come home. Rescue. Not out there peeking. I'm going to rescue fishes. Thank you very much. What's the timeline of this here? They're coming to get me. But we're going back home. Woo! Okay, that was rather anticlimactic, but I'm cool with it. What did that actually accomplish? Do we just rescue people in general, or like are they our people now? I don't understand. Can we recruit both of them? It's only letting me click Jack. Jack looks like a young Charlie Sheen. Oh, you can click her. Why didn't he show up? I don't know. The Grand Adventure. The Grand Adventure. Oh, no, 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 no. Not here for that at the moment. We're figuring it out. Oh, that's where the rescue mark goes. Book? I kind of thought maybe it was gonna like advertise a book like based off of a game or something. Maybe not. That was very, very optimistic. Gotta have high, high hopes for a living. Special promo. Your chat bubble has been changed to bloodied zombie. What? I don't know, it looks cute. It's not unlockable yet. Rude. claimed. I did work that time, not before. Daily boost. No, thank you. Ah! What are you? What is this? Oh, we only have... What? I feel like this is gonna go terribly. I don't know what I'm doing here.
Home is where we started, and also our last hope.
You can't pull it over. I think that's wrong.
I hope they don't have to wait too long.
The last bullet? That one's for me.
I don't know. What does it do? Do I need to do anything, or do they auto do it? They're shooting on their own. I think it's okay. I don't think this is going well. That was uncomfortable, like multiple ways. Biochemical beast damage. I don't know about that one. Even Titan's like showing ass in Club Gold stream. Well, I mean, I can't right now. Well, I could if I wanted to, but I don't feel like it right now, so someone's got to. At least they're picking up the slack for me. I feel like my people are injured, and I don't know what I need to do for them. How do I look at their health? I feel like I remember something with that with...
We'll all die one day.
Game of Thrones one. Maybe not.
What's there to be surprised about? I simply...
Calm down, Grandma. Tomatoes! I am assuming everyone has enough health. We're gonna speed this up. Look at that. I'm a professional at wasting time. Using trapping navigation for quick I have to remember that we have that. How to effectively tame biochemical so we can have it as a pet? That's a little weird. Like, I'm willing to love any creature, but that's a little bit uncomfy for me. Even so. It's like the face that only a mother could love, but perhaps not this mother. Just perhaps not. I feel like that's more efficient than what they were suggesting. I can wait a minute and a half. And ask for... him. I was just clicking around. How do I put her back? I don't want you. I don't think I even have you, but... I don't know. I know nothing. Are you ill, friend? Oh. Exile. Oh wait, I probably should have killed him. What would you guys have done? He's doing like the fent lean. He's a zombie. Really? Okay, then he's just tired. I'm sorry, I was talking shit. That was not very nice of me. Oops. Oops, today is one the Assassin's Creed. Picking up the slack. Do you even wear a gun turret on your back? Probably not. Stepped up the level. You don't know what I do in my offline time. Little do you know. Got a turret for like day of the week underwear. Got a turret for Monday. Got a turret for... Uh-oh. I feel like that's probably best. I don't know. Got a turret for Monday, for Tuesday, for Wednesday, for Thursday, for Friday, for Saturday, for Sunday. And then they get started around again. You don't know what I do in my offline time? How do you think I manage my road rage? Wait, was there a 2 next to her before? Okay, okay. So are we getting clothes? Yes, okay, so we have to... Participation points gets the girl dressed. Okay. Now that it makes sense, kind of. Not really, but okay. I'll vibe with it. I don't feel like traveling at the moment. When in doubt, turtle it out. Has a new meaning with a cannon shell mounted to your back. You're not wrong. I'm not ready for that one yet. A store. This is like a very claustrophobic little town. I could not live with everything this close together. It would irk me. A battle center. Let's get down to business to defeat the zombies. Oh, why did I mean, I would assume both are free. Oh, oops. No. Don't button mash, Serena. Did you get Grandma with an M60? She's not your favorite character. She's fun. I scooped her up on her last venture out, I think. Gotta upgrade the farm. Okay. Make sure the farm be farming. Okay, I think that's enough. We can leave it running in the background. I guess. It's fine where it is. L'hôpital. Hospital. Okay. Do I want to just auto... What would I use? 19 of the 500s? Okay. Wait, am I going over? I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Free. We like free. Free is good. Free is good. Free is good. These sounds are satisfying. I understand why people would get addicted to gambling. I know this isn't gambling, but the jingle bells are close enough. I don't want to use all the gems though. There's just always something more. I was preparing for my presidency. Ah, that's a bit much. Rome wasn't built in a day. No, stranger danger. Stranger danger. Destroy the subway nest. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Apples and wood, apples and wood. Berries and cream, berries and cream. Lord! Okay. The police station. Okay. Oakley dokely artily chokely. The Doomsday Courier. Commander, you have a monthly pass free trial available. I don't know what that is. Okay. Did it? Okay. I don't know what that's gonna do. It's gonna do something. You're a turd on your back. Insert increments. I don't believe you, meme. Anchorman was funny. Fun fact, I wasn't allowed to watch it because I wasn't 13 yet, and I'm pretty sure it's PG-13. But I was working on a science fair project with, yeah, 2004. I was in like 4th, going into 5th grade then. I think going into 5th grade. The girl I was working on the science fair project with that I got partnered up with, I got dropped off at her house so we could work on it together, and then we watched it instead of doing any of the science fair project. That actually kind of sucked. I ended up doing most of it, and it was irritating. For someone that like didn't really care about trying too hard, I feel like I ended up doing all of the work in any group project that I got put into. And I think I only did the work out of like sheer embarrassment of they're gonna be mad at me if we get a bad grade. But like it never should have fallen on my shoulders. Hooligan, I know. So naughty.
Sorry.
It's just like one of the few like popular and relevant things that I've watched in line with when it's been released versus like 10, 15 years later. I think that's why it stuck with me so hard. That my godmother sneaky let me watch Mean Girls when it came out. And I wasn't allowed to. We got both? No. I had the privilege. But like, I think my godmother also knew that my dad was like a little bit unreasonable with some things. Although I think in the same timeline we watched the Moulin Rouge, and that was like, thinking back, kind of a little bit inappropriate to watch. I think my godmother was trying to use it as like a scare tactic though, like if you have sex with many partners, you will get pregnant and you will die. Because Satine is a prominent woman. Oh my goodness. Fetid moppet. You know what? I did. I sneaky watched. It was just kind of like a what is it, like a lie of omission, but like really like a truth of omission, kind of. Like it was on and she was like, do you want to watch it? I was like, sure. Blockbuster was still open then, I think. It was probably rented from Blockbuster. The good old days. Oh, that's a big boy. Oh, but our drones took him out. Fuck yeah. Nice. Oh, that's another big boy. Okay. I like it more dark mode-y. But I wonder if that's increasing the army size at all. Like their army, not mine. The Zamba army. Take away from the Moulin Rouge was, holy crap, Obi-Wan can sing. That and Stardust are the two roles that I was introduced to him, and he's a beautiful singer. He's not just a Star Wars boy, he's like actually an all-around excellent theater actor. I never expected that or would have anticipated it. It's a lovely movie. I love the soundtrack. I like the movie. But thinking back, that's probably one of the few ones that I was shown, like, before I should have been shown it. I don't think it impacted me in any way in life. Like, if it were my kid, I probably wouldn't let them. Get to the point of, like, either the bag over here or the supplies, and then we'll try scouting around a little bit. He's not? Then who is? Who am I thinking of? Oh no, that's not him! Charlie Cox? Henry Cavill? That's absolutely not him. In my brain, it was him. Does that still count? That's amazing. I stand corrected. Well, I sit corrected. Okay, well, in my little preteen pretty boy seeking mind, they were the same person. I know very little of The Witcher, other than they've kind of treated it in the same... Oh boy! Oh, we're just gonna die. Hi! What's up, buddy? That was a big, mighty, drunk leap into a big, confusing world. Come here. You. Oh, God. Careful, uppies. Okay. Oh, careful, 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 please. Careful, please. Ow, ow, can you move your foot, please? Okay. Okay, okay, okay. Oh my God, I actually defeated him by doing nothing. Honey! He knows exactly where to put his paws that he shouldn't. There we go. Okay, there's a cozy boy. I was in the middle of saying something. Aren't they treating The Witcher similar to Game of Thrones, where like so much hype and accuracy and then it just trickles down into the most watered down shit version? And I'm guessing that he would be the main character, because aren't they changing most of the cast too, which doesn't make any fucking sense?
One must always look ahead.
Grandma.
I hunted this bear.
Put Ewan McGregor in for all his roles. He's your man crush. He is a pretty boy.
One must always look ahead, no matter how old.
He also
you
just
are.
seems like a decent human being. Which is cool beans, you know?
What's there
I mean,
to be
seems
surprised
versus
about?
is are two different things, but... Give Grandma some strength and speed here. Always with the upgrading of the headquarters. Okay. 2 hours. Suck my dick.
One must always.
What's up with our boy over here? Imitation white boy.
all die one day. Not today. Not today. And not
Battle
tomorrow.
manuals are insufficient. No. Oh, I meant to say no. But I said
Hang in there,
yes.
kid.
So,
I'll protect you.
you know, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Defense. I'm a good attacker. I'm not a good defender. Meet a real snow cone. Nice. What flavor, Smoops? I used to do that with just pouring orange juice into it. The difference between Game of Thrones and The Witcher is that there's still plenty of source material to pull from if they wanted. That's true. I really wonder if they weren't flying blind and following hypothetically finished books carefully, if they wouldn't have forked up Game of Thrones so much. Which I really can't speak on it because I didn't finish watching all of it, but it's been talked about enough that I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of the fuckery. I only trust doing that with fresh snow since you know no animals have been through it yet. Yeah, you don't want pre-lemon flavored snow because it's not lemon flavored. I didn't even know he has kiddos. That's awesome. I mean, especially just in terms of social media, but especially being in the limelight. Kids don't need to be exposed to that. One, there's weird people in the world, and you can't always control the weird, but you can do your best to avoid it. And two, like, there's just no sense in all of that in-your-faceness.
The last bullet?
Cheers to present, fun. We're all going to hell. Alright.
Like, I'm sure some kids can handle it and take it in stride well. But it's probably an overstimulating experience to be surrounded by everything that fame comes with. It is smart parenting. Long way down and long way round. Oh, that is cool. Little long motorcycle. Little long. Good job, Serena. Microsoft Works. Jumbo Shrimp. Long motorcycle documentary journeys. I feel like I would like that. It sounds cute. About Tree Fitty? What are they going on about here? Like how it doesn't show the emojis, it just says emoji. Wish I knew how to, like, remove that. I don't want it up. I don't care about it. Missed most of the lemon snow talk because your internet has been browning out with the snow. Oh, I feel for you. I'm definitely a little anxious that you might lose any connectivity. A few neighborhoods over they have. I think like Comcast has gone out. No internet, no phones. I am worried about the power going out though. It's flickered a few times. But I would assume that would mostly be from like someone hitting a pole and a transformer going out. It's usually what happens. Big army, big army, big army, big army! I feel for you. I feel like internet being completely out is way better than like intermittent downage. Intermittent downtime, not downage. Man, bear, pigs. This does. I think it's because it's like a PC and a mobile game. It was a mobile game before it was a PC game. So it's kind of meant to have that like simplistic perspective. I would definitely agree with that though. Oh, it's all on Apple Plus. I don't have that.
One day. Every once in a while, something will come up with like a free trial for it. I'll think of it then. Has anyone played any of the mobile games on Netflix? Are they cool? I see them advertised the most when I put on Netflix on the tablet. Which makes sense. You know, it's a little more difficult with a TV unless you have like a touchscreen TV to play something like that. But I don't even know how it would like hook up to a controller. Are any of them any good though? That's true though. Everyone has a phone except my dad. I mean, he has one, but it sits in the car. Oh, now we get a campaign. What does that mean?
Scribblings in your diary.
But it holds all the legendary adventures I've had these past 2 years.
Danger.
I'll tell you
Danger,
what.
Will Robinson. No. You know, I've said this before, but I find like the most demotivating thing in games is when I get into 1,000 things at once. And then I end up completely lost in all of the madness that it is. And then I'm overwhelmed and I don't want to keep playing. Like trying to limit myself of what I opt into each time here. Slow and steady wins the race. Collect them all. That is definitely the Sniper Elite sound. You're not a clicky box. I thought you would be a clicky box. Clear zombies at the supermarket. Every zombie movie ever has told me that is a bad idea. That is how we lose our peoples. I don't know about that one. What else do I need to do for a girlfriend here? Headquarters level 7, login for a total of 3 days. Well, I can't just fucking magically make it a new day. Oh. I didn't know I could click it that many more times. I looked, but I did not see. No, we got all the things. All the things. Tomatoes! Oh, there's like a lot of everyone bebopping up around everything. Manage survivors? What about you needs managing? Like, I'm not your mom. I'm not in charge of you. It's what does CP mean? Or CP? CP means sleepy. Imagine that. Get to the thing. And then explore more. See spot save. Spider? Spotify doesn't even count as an app. It's basically blind. It's fair. That's fair. It's a big army. Oh my god. Oh my god. So you have the modern iPod Touch, but I think you have an Android, Smoops. Sometimes you use it as a phone, but that's fair.
For as conceptually ridiculous as modern cell phones are, it is kind of nice to have the world in your pocket in that way. So if you want to call someone, it's right there. If you want to listen to music, it's right there. If you want to open a meditation app, it's right there. It is kind of beneficial to be able to have a way to have the world at your fingertips like that. Not for all of the reasons, but for some and most of the reasons. Okay, okay, surrounded. Surrounded. We're gonna get bit in the butt. Ah! That's not good. I'm a small army. That's not cool right now. Oh jeez. Guys, why don't we go that way? Oh no. Oh no! Are we gonna get him? It's just our imitation white boy over here, I think. Who all is still going? Oh no, we have one more guy still going. Can we get him? Why are you so strong? Don't be that strong. Stop it. Get out of the way. She's like floating on the ground. Or maybe that's her like sword holders by her hips. Him hips. We survived. That was not well played though. I'm impressed by all these zombie survivors of supermodel hair. Right? I'm not even that well styled. And like, I am not in any sort of apocalypse except for like an emotional one at this point. Oh no. Oh no. Use your phone as a phone for work almost exclusively. I think that's fair too, and it's helpful. It's a lot easier than lugging a laptop around. Or even lugging a tablet around. I would say that probably 80% of my phone... Where is my phone? That's the Go phone. Where's my Serena phone? Is it in my pocket? I don't know where my phone is. It's not important at the moment. I know it didn't drop into the toilet or fall down outside, so we're good. But, I don't know, probably like 80-85% of my phone is used for work, and then maybe like 5 to 10% is used for doom scrolling, and then the rest is just pictures of the animals or guided meditations or God, whatever else I'm looking up, how to dress myself, etc. First step to survival is a good haircut. I mean, a good haircut boosts your confidence. So honestly, yes, you're not wrong. Anything else can be sent via text, right? Like that a phone is like a backup computer. It is nice. I mean, for how much they cost, they better be capable of doing so. But it is a handy thing to have. It's the handy dandy cell phone. I really wonder where my phone is. I have no idea. Maybe I left it in the kitchen? I thought I had it in here when I came back out, though. Maybe I took it out with me when I made coffee? I don't panic if I can't find it unless there's any potential that I either put it in the washing machine or it fell outside. Because I've left my phone outside a few times, and I've never washed my phone, knock on wood, but my godmother did once. Like with hers. I'm very, very mindful for that. My unique movement strategies end up with the flying. Oh, that makes sense. We don't take it slow in here.
I've actually connected the Bluetooth mouse and keyboard to a phone connected to a display with USB-C. Yo, that's genius. That's like the modern day version of, God, I remember, I think it was my junior year of high school. I went over to a friend's house. We were all watching a movie, and they set up the movie from a download on an iPod Touch that had a converter cable that went to, like, monitor VGA. Which was wild. That's like the modern day version of that. I'd be surprised if Pictures of the Zoo is at least 30% of the phone storage. Right now it's 100%. Because I'm not shooting any schnoods. But generally, yeah, that's approximately the balance. If not 50-50, at least 70-30. I don't think we have a median of 60-40 there. They're just so cute. Foya's watching the game on stream. Like you guys. He's not even watching it on the big screen. He's watching it in my OBS thing. What's this? Oh, that's something to get to later. What are you? And why are you telling me to do that? I don't have to do it if I don't want to. I don't know what I want to do right now. I kind of want to check out whatever this mission-y situation was. The explore. Oh. Uh-oh. What are any of these? Pick up airdrops. Rare. No, does rare mean it's more difficult? Event disappears and permanent. Does that mean it goes away or it doesn't go away?
Everything is in shortage nowadays. If only there were more supplies from those airdrops.
Does rare mean, like, difficult? I don't know. Let's find out. You don't know until you try. You can't always get what you want. I know you're out there. Behave yourself. No peeking. Calm down. Okay. That sounded angry. Is it the radar that I went to for that? I thought we went there. Oh. Hee hee. Normal, legendary.
What's that monstrous thing?
That looks difficult, lemon difficult.
Don't need much food.
Let's go. Do 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 do. Da 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 na 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 na. Let's go. Oh, we didn't even travel that far. 23 kilometers. GG's. Why you gotta spawn so loud? I think that's the only complaint I have about this game so far, is that the volume is not consistent. However, volume is not consistent in many forms of media. The TV in my bedroom has crappier speakers than the one out here, and I think I have the one out here set to balance, like, as well as it possibly can, versus the one in my bedroom doesn't have that option. But I was watching Modern Family earlier, because that's my new favorite thing. I don't know. I don't think it's disappearing. The other day it said 13 days left until it's gone, and now it doesn't say any of that. So either Hulu is glitching, or I just... Huh? Or it's not disappearing. Where's I going with all of that? I realized, though, how loud the end credits and beginning trailer credit intro... What is the word for that? There's a word for that. I'm not finding it. The theme? I think that's the verbiage that I'm looking for. Correct me if I'm wrong there. It's so loud compared to the show. Like, I have to turn it down from, like... I'm gonna sound like such an old person right now. This is the bitchiest, most bitch-assness of all bitch-assness. So, if I have the TV on, like, volume 6, then I have to turn it down to 4 during the opening credits. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. and then turn it back up so I can hear the voices and the rest of it. And the commercials are pretty balanced, which is great. And then it gets to the end part of like who made it, this production, blah blah blah, whatever. And it's loud. It's very loud. Is that red? Like I don't have enough resources. That's why it was popping up with the other thing. Okay, I'm dumb. Like, not exactly, but I'm not the smartest sometimes. Okay. I mean, you can't take it with you when you're dead. I did that up everything to where I wanted it, though? I don't know. Use? Oh, okay, it is upping it. It's just gonna trade off. Why don't I do that? I mean, I don't think having it in quantity up here is gonna make it disappear at any point in time. I think it's probably fine. What's that? Some Earl? Ooh, I don't know. That's a big one. That concerns me. Okay, I think we have a good amount of stuff. Stranger danger. Where was I that we just had that? Where was I? Not that one. No. I feel like there's something over here that I don't think is correct though. Yeah, no. Ah, this one. No? I don't want to use all of the diamonds. I just don't feel like thinking more about this at the moment. But okay, we have redemptions for more gems anyway. Now we just have a fuck ton of tomatoes and a fuck ton of wood. Hey, that's a big one. Why not use the time? Oh, because it's already running one in the background. I think you can only either instant it or do one in the background as okay. Hee hee. I learned. I think if you're over capacity, you can't passively get. Oh, dang it! Now my tomato plants are gonna be sad. Oops. I have a feeling they did renegotiate and renew licensing. I hope so. Otherwise, it's just an error because I'm only on season like 4 out of 10. It's such a very good show. I like it a lot. I've wanted to watch it for a while and it seemed intimidating because it's a lot of characters to get to know, but it's well done enough that I can enjoy it without really having to understand it, which is a mark of a good show. You don't have to know every single character to understand everyone's place within the pieces of humor. God damn it, I screwed up my pass. Oh no, I didn't. More tomatoes. We'll probably get less though. They probably would have given us like 500 before versus like 200. What are the diamonds used for? They can speed everything up and then we can buy other things with that. The gems. They're just another form of currency, like fast currency instead of resources. But I think we have... Yeah, we have a whole bunch of like extra bonus gems. So it's not the end of the world to use them, but I mean, like, I can be patient. I would prefer to be patient. I'm a patient. Alright, we haven't done one of these yet. What does that do? Is it someone's, like, an actual person's village or, like, an NPC village? Don't attack. Where's home? Stranger danger. The building in the building queue already. I completely did not consider that that would have anything to do with anything. I think I could run 2 simultaneously in the Game of Thrones one, like a main one and then like a side one. So like for instance, I think I could do my castle and then like troops at the same time. So they're like 2 different categories. But it doesn't seem like this one has that advantage. Which is okay. I think I like, I don't know. So far I think I like this one more. It's a bit more dummy proof. I feel like I'm succeeding more than I feel stuck, which I think is a good sign. It's so crowded. This is a terrible town layout. Like, is this even facing the southernmost area? Like, come on now. Do we even have a rose compass on here? No. Headquarters needs to be done first. We can battle around for a little bitty until it's eep time.
I hope they don't have to wait.
Then we'll just let that run overnight. I'm not gonna waste speed ups just to that overnight. I don't think we can level her up yet. No, no. Hilda and her youthful vigor. And go shopping. Just kidding. Kind of. I do miss having a dragon though, I'm not gonna lie, I like that. I wonder if at some point we can like capture one of these guys. Make him my pet. My pretty. My pretty. Oh, no, don't fucking glitch. Little bitch. Oh, no. I made my army get pummeled. Oopsies. He got big mad punches. Oh my god. Bruv. Don't bring your buddies into this. Okay, we survived. I think. Yes. Whew. Victory. Victory! Gunther was so cute sitting in my chair earlier. And the perks of this being a bigger chair, not just a kid's gaming chair. That's my other office chairs. It's a kid's gaming chair. So it's Serena sized, but like there's only so much butt space. Gunther and I both fit our little booties perfect. No, thank you. We fit our little booties perfectly together into the chair. It's nice. Ow. My bottom lip keeps splitting. Here's my lippy. I chew on my lips in my sleep and it's the damn weather and it does not help. Gunther is a cute little good nappy boy. Gunther's the best. Every time I look at Gunther, well, not every time, but most times when I look at Gunther, I just think to myself, what a miracle he is. He's a cat who never had a name, had a microchip, but never had a name, had people for 11 years that didn't care about him,
He was taken in as a stray to Chicago Animal Care and Control by some nice, good Samaritan. They called the people that he was chipped to, and they said, he's sick, put him to sleep. And thankfully they had space in the medical hold area where they were able to allocate for Gunther, but Gunther wasn't even up for adoption. He was supposed to, I think, be a rescue pull. But instead, my crazy self came in there and said, I have a cat who's FIV positive. I would like to adopt another kitty that's FIV positive. And Gunther got a family. It's miraculous. It's miraculous that he survived, like, that long outside, fending for himself in whatever capacity. I've said this a million times. Outdoor cats have a half-life. So if the average lifespan for a cat is 15 years old, when that cat lives outside for the majority of his life, the average lifespan is going to be about 7 years, 7.5 years. Just because it takes so much of their energy and effort, and it takes a toll on you. Like, think about presidents. They go in the office with normal hair color, they come out gray. Think of like how people's demeanors change after war. It's like the same thing. Gunther's just a little miracle baby, and I'm so glad he's here. Dry winter air sucks. It sucks in terms of splitting lips. As far as my skin and my hair, they love the dry weather. They love it. My hair is so thick and floofy and happy. All of my, any like little mar of acne on my face from like a few days of painkillers post-surgery is just gone. My skin and hair love the dry weather. But my snoot and my lippies and the Zubines don't. Good job, Voya. You got it. You're a good boy. Are you pooping, or is that weird posture? You just reminded me that I have to tinky. Don't be weird about this now. You can do it. Calm, deep breaths. The Zen. Zen. Inhale for 4 through your nose, exhale for 6 through your mouth. Good boy! Like trying to regulate my anxiety. It's so hard for him. Which is so hard to do. I feel like I also kind of sketch him out by like looking every time he's in the potty box too. Elbows for you. I'm gonna lotion them this time of year. You know what? I don't even know if I have rough elbows. I'm bad about full body lotion, but that's usually because I do like a lotion show, pretty much like a lotion or oil show on a weekly basis generally. Not lately. My elbows are actually quite soft. I'm surprised. I was expecting them to be surprisingly crunchy, but no, they're quite soft. And sketchy out with someone peering at you. You're telling me that every time you go and put the toilet seat up or have a seat on the throne, you would be a bit uncomfortable if someone went, "What you doing? Is it going okay?" I would imagine that is kind of nerve-wracking. Let me clean up his spot, and then he reminded me that I need to go tinky. We're gonna take a quick pre-battle break. I know we level it up. Evenly matched. Oh, that's nerve-wracking. I do like how it says that on here, though. Where is my phone? Like, that's a really interesting situation. Oh, I was using it as a flashlight, and now it's probably dead. No. I was using it as a flashlight when we were fixing the chair. It's like a good 2 hours. I forgot my phone existed. In this day and age, I'm kind of proud of that. I didn't miss anything. I got 1 like on my Blue Sky post, and my phone is telling me that it's time to go to bed. Your melatonin window shifted. You don't control me. You don't tell me what to do. I'll say it once, I'll say it twice, and I'll say it again. The Rise sleep app is cool. They have a free trial, like everything does. And you can't access all of the features still. You really can't open the app at all without like getting bonked for payment after the free trial portion. But it still continuously sends you notifications of your sleep debt, your I might have already crossed out of the other piece. Your energy summary for the day. So for me, for today, based on the amount of sleep I got, my morning peak, my most energy in the morning would be 10:08 a.m. My afternoon dip, like where you start to feel sleepy towards the evening, but like just need to relax for a little bit, or if you're me, take a nap, is 4:03. Excuse me. And then my evening peak, the start of my most energy in the evening, is 8:06 p.m. for today. But I like it. It tells you your best time to fall asleep still. It tells you your best times to have energy during the day. You gotta go more? If anyone, I guess, is wondering what kind of sleep they get or the quality of sleep they get or if they get enough sleep, I would recommend trying it. Don't pay for it. Or do if you want to. I'm not shading it. I think it's a great app. I just don't want to pay for it. But it's neat. So I think it's very rare that something that you stop paying for still tells you stuff. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm a glitch. But I think it's neat. I like it. I like knowing how behind or caught up on sleep I am. Because then I can make an accurate assessment of Voya needs to finish what he's doing and then I can get up. You can make an accurate assessment of like, okay, I'm just super exhausted, or like, hey, you're caught up on sleep, so maybe you feel yucky because you're sick, but you don't know it. I'm very good at ignoring things. Like a cat. I act like everything's fine until like I'm about to die, and then it's like, oh no, get me to emergency. Don't rock the boat. Don't tip the boat over. You fell through the cracks, just enjoy the perks. I mean, I would hope that it's that way for everyone. But if it's just me, I'm sorry for bragging, and knock on wood that it stays that way. I think it's neat though, I like that. You do a good poop. Now we're winning the litter kicking Olympics. My life be like litter kick, litter kick. My life be like kick, 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 kick. I mean, kind of like literally, but yeah, you gotta bury the poop real good, you know? I don't understand that. It makes him happy, and that's all that matters. It's fucking dumb. Like, how long do you have to do this for? It's fucking stupid. It'd be like if I sat on the toilet and, like, unrolled the entire roll of toilet paper and then proceeded to, like, daintily wipe myself piece by piece by piece until the whole roll is empty. Like, it's excessive. It's unnecessary. It's frivolous. He's still going. Well, I'd like to go pee-pee, buddy. I'd like to log what you've done. I'd like to go pee-pee myself. I'm, like, kind of afraid to move so, like, I don't screw up his mojo, too. I just don't understand what's going on with Voya. I can pinpoint moments that have caused stress, but I have pretty much restored order to the balance of the force. And yet he's still having issues, and I don't know what has changed about that. I don't know what is the main factor. I don't know.
Gunther, you're gonna get litter kicked in your face. Are you waiting in line? You know there's multiple litter boxes, right? I don't know. So right now Voya is taking gabapentin and buspirone, which my cat Maya, years and years ago, she was like a Siamese calico mix. She was really pretty. She had the same thing as Voya, feline idiopathic cystitis. So basically your bladder gets inflamed for no reason. / we don't know what the reason is. Most times it's stress. But now we're trying that one. Trying both. I feel bad. He jumped up to Gunther's food bowl, or tried to jump up. Oops. Yeah, tried to jump up to Gunther's food bowl last night and ate shit. And now he just tried to jump onto the carrier in here and just ate shit. He's a little stoned. He's a little stoned. Now Gunther is going. I love cats. You gotta cover up the boy pee with the boy pee. Just gonna make the whole floor a litter box at this point. God. I think I've told you guys maybe briefly or in passing about the kiddie pool litter box that I used to have downstairs. That was so genius for how it lasted. Like eventually it broke and corroded, but I didn't pull it off the side of the road anyway. But it was a little kiddie pool, like a little plastic one with like the fishy design on it, and made for like kids. And I planned for the dogs to enjoy it. How did I know that's so loud? I can't, like, unhear it. Like, I know it's loud to me, but I know it's loud to you guys, too. Good lord. The dogs didn't like it. They're not fans of water. Excuse me. So I ended up turning into a litter box downstairs, and it was the most effective thing ever. I think the zoo was 5 kitties then. It's Ming, Marbles, Maya had her own bedroom because she had pee-pee issues. Chong, Kid, and Munster. So 6. And it was like the perfect litter box for all of that. But I think after like 3 or 4 years of it being a litter box, it started to break down. Started to break. It was genius though. It was in Tank's room. Tank's room was completely empty with just a swimming pool of litter in it. Gunther, would you like to be done now? Thank you. Holy my god. This is gonna take a minute to clean up. My children. Ow. Oh my god, what have you done? And Voya made sure to walk on my little cushion right as he was finished. Oh, it's perfect. Ugh. It's beautiful. Good Christ, my child. How did you do this? I don't understand. It's very impressive. But it very sucks to clean up. But it's very impressive. But it very sucks to clean up. Holy moly, guacamole. This is a choice. Why do we need to make this choice? I love you, but you're insane. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Insane in the membrane. Insane in the brain. Okay. Order is restored. Back in the force. Now, I gotta go tinky, and I will be right back. I'm really the headless streamer. That's creepy. Farike. Hi, Gunther. You're very cute, boo-boo. Hi, Charlie. My body is deciding to get stupid sick right now. Gunther took over the chair. He's a fancy boy. Fancy boy, you gotta give me some butt space. I still need to feed the zoo and I am not feeling great, so that is going to be our time for tonight. I thought I just had to pee and then I got up and then I felt sick as fuck. That was not fun. The game music was intense. Some very intense battle music. That was quite the situation. My brain wants to click buttons, but I know better than to click buttons. Boy, I'll be creeping. 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 He's so cute. And Gunther is even cuter over here. Look at this little... How do we make you show up? Don't... No. Be one with the camera. There you go. So funny to see a tiny Gunther next to a huge Voya. Thank you all for a wonderful night tonight. Thank you for Sheelan. Thank you for your time, your chats, your company, your support. Pardon. And thank you for being used. Very much so. Thank you for your time, most of all. Your time is very valuable. In case you ever forgot. Did not think so. It is. It's a valuable commodity, a valuable resource. This finite thing that you don't get anymore. You just get whatever you get and you do whatever you want with it and hopefully don't have to throw a fit because Serena's annoying as fuck. And you guys are able to spend your time here. I am truly, truly honored and humbled and I appreciate yous. Oh, thank you, the Mad Topher. I appreciate it. I hope the night is kind to you as well. I hope the, dare I say, the start of the week, that's a scary topic to jump on. is kind to you and all the good feels. Crossing fingers and paws. This is an interesting timeline in life. I did not expect to feel so off right now. Surprise! I don't know. My stomach's been fucked up as fuck since Chauncey stuff. Like, stress definitely plays into a huge component of everything. Only annoying to neighborhood stop sign runners. You know what? These bitches, they gotta learn. Stop. I really do think I can kind of justify it now. To spin off for a moment. I can kind of justify it because newer cars, they turn off when you stop. And that's annoying. Like, creeping through traffic or whatever. It's the car I rented for Texas and the car I rented for, not Munster, but for Pennsylvania. And then one other before that. Maybe it was the one for Vegas also? That it would turn off when you stop, and that's stupid. I don't like it. So I kind of get why, like, people are running stop signs way more than they used to, but at the same time, they're there for a reason. You stop for safety. Like, if we are ignoring these small rules of the world on a small scale, imagine how that expands to the larger scale of things. Like, I'm not necessarily annoyed at the stopping of stop signs, because I am a little bit. It's hazardous. There's children, there's animals, etc. Like, you gotta look out for the squirrels, my friend. But on a larger scale, it worries me. Because if you no longer care about stopping at stop signs, what also don't you care about? As humanity, as the population at large. I have concerns. Serena for president. Qualmer concerns. Lifetime jail sentence for not stopping at a stop sign. Just kidding. That's a bit extreme. But, like, I don't know. Some kind of bill that gives an insurance incentive. Like how, I don't know, maybe everyone's insurance does this now, but mine does if I do enough safe rides. Like, I go the speed limit, no excessive stopping, not using my phone, etc. Then it gives me, like, a somewhere between, depending on how much I drive and how good I drive, like between $12 and $40 off each month. So if there was, like, a backwards... No. Wait, how do I actually want to lay this out for future policy? Let me think mindfully for a moment. My mind is a bit elsewhere at the moment. If there was some kind of penalty system, like the lottery, a penalty or reward system that either, like, the state or insurance companies, etc. would roll out for people who stop and do not stop at stop signs. Like, let's incentivize better choices. And maybe that will lead the change that should exist in the world. This chair is giving me feelings. I feel very executive in the executive chair. I think the president is the executive branch of government. I think. The anti-piracy and the IT crowd. Where does it end? Exactly. It's a small symptom of a larger problem. It just is. And that's all I've got to say on that. Is that what that... Oh, I guess, yeah, that is kind of a steeple shape. I never thought of what this might be called. It's just the Mr. Burns pose. Excellent, Smithers. Excellence. Stop at all the stop signs. Or fine everybody. Da-ba-da-ba-da. I don't know, kind of like how you get fined for throwing a cigarette butt out your window now. Like, if you don't stop at a stop sign, something should happen because of it. But then there's cops that live in my neighborhood too, and they don't stop at the stop signs. There's been multiple times. Well, you know how bad I want to just, like, pull up next to them and, like, citizen's arrest, but I don't think you can do that. But there's multiple officers in my neighborhood that have their squad car parked at their house, and they're still rolling through stop signs. Where is hope for the rest of the world when the person that's supposed to stop you from not stopping at stop signs is also not stopping at the stop signs? It's chaos. It's a Joker's world, and I'm just Batman with Gunther living through it. It's a Joker's world. I was very angry one day, and I was very tempted to, and I had to continuously remind myself that I cannot do anything to get in trouble because 1, my dad will probably not bail me out, and 2, I have to come home to the zoo. So as much as I would like to pull up next to someone when they are stuck at traffic and stopped at a stop sign and say something along the lines of, see, stop sign means stop. I don't know how that would go. I don't think that would be met with the good intention that I have behind my recklessness in that way. But, like, would I be wrong to? I don't think so. I guess the right way to go about that would just be to write down their car number and then just call. Because, you know, they always give a fuck when you call the police station. They do not. And say, you know, so-and-so in car 0137 doesn't stop at stop signs. Karen here. It does make me feel like a Karen. But at the same time, do what you're fucking supposed to do. We all took driver's ed. We all learned. At least I would hope so. Yeah, police aren't really enforcing stuff. I get followed all the time, and I don't have the right registration sticker on my car. Which, granted, if you look up my plate number, like, it'll tell you that my registration is current anyway. It's fine, but I don't know. I feel like when I was first learning to drive, I probably would have gotten pulled over for that. Even though they can verify that it's fine, like, oh, let's try and catch her doing something wrong. And it doesn't happen like that anymore. Trying to think. I think the last time I got pulled over in Ohio. But before that was I turned at a red light that was no turn on red for like the first time ever. It's a pretty local red light. It's like 5 minutes down the road. It's just an easy way to get to Walgreens. There was one time I ever turned down there on red. I ignored it because it was like 9:30 p.m. at night. 9:30 at night. My best friend at the time was with me. We were just going to get, I think, her wine and me cigarettes or something of the sort. And it was just like, oh, like, we're just going down the road. It's fine. Like, there's no traffic. There's no school children out at this time. I'll just turn and make it all the faster of a trip so we can get back home and chill. And then I got pulled over. And I think maybe that's why it burns me a little extra. Granted, that's not a stop sign, but it's like similar concept. Write down the plate number and tell their insurance company. Hit them in the wallet where it hurts. Oh god, is there a way to find out what insurance company does? That's a good idea. No, what car? Progressive? Also, I don't think that's actually gonna give me the. Oh, okay, maybe. No, I'll call their department. The Department of Risk Management. Self-insured? So does that mean that they pay their insurance? I don't know. I need to look into this. That's actually a really good idea. It's a good idea. Eliminate the middleman. I'm not telling your boss. I'm telling your insurance. It was a left turn, so it makes sense that it's not allowed. No, it was a right turn. I did right turn on red. So the light was red, and I was in the right turn lane. And at that light, 4 of the this way, and this way are no turn on red. This one, you're allowed to turn on red. Because it's the furthest away from the school zone. I think the school zone still overlaps to where the T section is versus the full crossway section. I think that's why it's like that. But it was also towards the end of the month, and you gotta make quota, etc., etc. So I kind of get it, and I just got a warning for it, but come on now. Come on now. It was just rude. The one time I turned on the no right turn on red. Right turn. I got pulled over. I don't ever turn right there anymore. And I've had a couple times where people are honking at me behind me because I'm in the right turn lane, ready to turn right. Got my blinker on and I'm not going and there's no cross traffic. And I will not turn. I'm not going to get pulled over there. I'm just not. Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. It's all shame on me. It's not happening. It's not happening. You can be as mad at me as you want. Honk at the mom car. That's your privilege as an American. But it's my privilege as an American to not want to get pulled over. Thank you very much. Gunther, you cozy boy. I love you. He does like this chair. Maybe they had a girl kitty wherever the chair came from. It's like, girl smells. It's nice. You fancy boy. Alright. I gotta be on my way, unfortunately. I do not feel great tonight at all, and I have to take care of the zoo, and the second wave of ill is coming. So if you guys would like to keep up with me offline for God knows what reason, hop into the Discord. Whereas we got the fun stuff, we got the socials, we got some more fun stuff, we got the sketch for when I will see you Bebs next, and thank you all for being a part of the stream, the Dreams Project, you wonderful human beings. I do believe tomorrow PB will be streaming for us, because she's a cutie patootie, and then I will do my best to exist in whatever capacity possible this week. Tuesday, I need to call my vet and figure out when I can schedule Chauncey's mass removal surgery, and that is a terrifying thing to do. It just is. There's always the chance that it's so wrapped up into something or like horribly far progressed, even though I think I caught it early. Like it's a fast growing tumor for thyroid cancer, but at the same time, he didn't have it for his dental in November. It wasn't there. And we put the Santa suit on him for Christmas, and I didn't feel it then. So it had to have come up starting sometime this month. So I would guess that it's not too far progressed in that way where it'd be wrapping around everything, but it's also a little over 4 centimeters, like all around. It's a pretty big lump for where it is. Our best chance is surgically remove it and do a more accurate biopsy to see exactly what kind of cells are a part of it, etc. But unfortunately, there is always the chance that it might be, opening him up will be like the end of the demise. So depending on when I can schedule that for, that's how I can, what's the terminology I'm looking for? Figure out how and when and where I can hold myself together to be able to participate in life. Because I've been a wreck about this, and it took quite the... I'm out of words because I feel yucky right now. Took a lot of mental fortitude to try and exist without crying my eyes out tonight. But coffee helps. Club Cold helps. I think we're doing a bang-up job of that. But once I get more answers on Tuesday of when we can schedule surgery, then I can reassess my panic zone of what the timeline is. Because if we do nothing, at most we'll have 6 months, is from the research that I'm reading. If we remove it and don't do chemo, and I'm not putting him through chemo, I'm just not. It's not worth putting my dog through hell for a 20% chance of only 2 more years. It's just not. And Chauncey doesn't like wearing the muzzle. He has to wear the muzzle at the vet. He doesn't like going to new places. It's going to be a lot to take him to an oncologist anyway. It all has to be in his best interest. So it's difficult to figure out and like recalibrate my emotions going forward. But right now I've settled on that. I don't know anything until I call Tuesday. We'll schedule surgery on Tuesday for whatever day my vet can do it, because it's not simple as a little puffy nut snip. It's a more in-depth than a 15-minute surgery. But I am going to request very specifically. So I mean, this really fucking sucks. Like Loki she was bred horribly, and her hips went out, and she mentally could not tolerate crate rest. So in essence, like in the most simplest form, she was behavioral euthanasia, and that fucking sucked. But she could not do all of the crate rest like that Diesel is doing. She had to run 6 miles a day. Otherwise, she was not a mentally stable dog. And that sucked ass. So she didn't get the chance to get cancer. But Snoop had cancer, and as soon as Doc opened him up on the table, it was more humane to say goodbye then, and that was one of the worst calls that I ever got in my life because I didn't get to say goodbye to my dog. And with backup, he hid it with his cough for so long, just thinking it was allergies, etc., and that was difficult to go through. That was rather sudden. I think it was like a month from the time that we found out that he was sick to, like, literally he's on his deathbed. Like, after being with my best friend while his dog was passing away. I absolutely, it's weird to say and weird to know, but I absolutely know that I took backup in at the time that I should have, because otherwise he would have died in my bed, and I don't know if that would have been better or worse, but I'm grateful that I was able to bring him in for a peaceful rest. Just sucks. It's difficult all around. I've had it both ways. I've had the I can really do nothing for my dog and watch him waste away. I've had the let's try to do everything we can and then doesn't wake back up. So I'm gonna try and formally request in any way that I can that, like, if when they first do the incision or however it works, I don't know, I'm not a surgeon, that if anything looks questionable, just close him back up and let him come back home. 'Cause I can't do that again. I just can't. Fuck, I'm sorry. I can't get that call again. So it's good to do surgery right away, and that's, like, the best choice I can make, and the right choice is always the hardest choice, right? But it's terrifying. It's a lot of complicated feelings. It just is. I'm gonna be quite the crybaby for the next chunk of time, and try not to be, but inevitably I am. But I don't know. It just sucks. But at least we caught it as early as possible. I think that's wonderful. It was an accidental finding. I tripped and fell, and I meant to grab Chauncey's back, like, to steady myself, and instead I grabbed his collar, and then he yelped, and I did a full body scan of, like, okay, did I, like, make you hurt your leg or something? And by the time I got to his neck, that's when I found the lump and took him to emergency to look at it, because usually I overreact about things, but sometimes it's not an overreaction. So we've learned. But yeah, my vet is on this, like, white on rice. I feel better with him doing the surgery than going to, like, VCA or another specialty clinic, and if he thinks that an oncology specialist would be good to go to, then we'll revisit that. But at this point, I'm pretty against the idea of doing chemo, because it's just it's not even the cost, it's just he wouldn't like it, and it wouldn't be worth doing. So all that said, next main mission in life is get all the chicken nuggets in bulk. We gotta find as many chicken nuggets as possible that we can. The most bulk chicken nuggets to ever exist at Sam's Club. That's our next mission in life. I hope you're having a good night so far, Midnight Dynamite. Appreciate you popping in to say goodnight. But yeah, at least they're doing the removal right away. I wouldn't feel right not doing it, but I don't feel good about doing it either. But the right choice is always the hard choice. So you gotta keep reminding yourself. And chemo is actually easier on dogs than it is on people, but you still only get, like, I don't know what the remission rate for people is, and it probably depends on what the cancer is. But the average remission rate, and for chemo to be successful with dogs, is about 20 to 25%. And even at that, you only get, like, another 6 months to 2 years without it. And I don't know if I don't think it's worth putting him through all of that for that, because he needs to be muzzled. He doesn't like new offices. It's his mental sanity and mental happiness over everything. So if we don't remove the tumor, we have at most like 6 months from what I've read, like in all the research study papers, etc. If we do remove it and it can all be cleanly removed, we could have another 18 months to 2 years before we encounter more troubles. And granted, he is already a senior pup. He's 9 years old, which I think the median age for this cancer coming up in pits is about, what are numbers? Like 8 to 12 years old. So he's just unfortunately right at the perfect cusp for it. It fucking sucks. It fucking sucks. Yeah, I would definitely consider chemo a last choice. Like, even if I myself was diagnosed with cancer, I would hope for surgical removal to be the most that can be done. But yeah, it's gross and unpleasant. It's not guaranteed. And I don't know how it works for dogs. I think for people, like, you have to sit for a certain amount of hours, and it's like an infusion almost. Like, it has to be, like, slow pumped into you, and then you feel really yucky, etc., blah, blah, blah. I think you have to have a port for it, too, and just... I don't want to put him through all of that. Well, yes, I don't want to put him through all of that. But I know he would not be happy going through all of that. He's not going to be happy just going back and forth to our primary vet, because that's the dog that he is. He just wants to be at home with mommy. So we'll figure it out assessedly going forward. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to, like, ramble off on all of that. I was trying to just keep it to my darn self, because who needs someone crapping on their rainy day parade? Does anyone else, like, habitually select all of their screens like that? I'll do this for like 5 minutes before starting stream. Like, it's just fun. This is my favorite computer game. Oh man. But I don't know, at the same token, it's probably not really fair to just not explain why I'm bland and blah, and I don't know what the schedule is, and I don't know what anything is at this point in time. I just don't. And that's part of life. You have to live with the not knowing. And that's a really hard thing to accept, but it's necessary. I appreciate you guys taking in all of my crazy dog mommery. You guys want to help me carry Chauncey, though? He's a big boy. He's my little man. Just sucks. Sucks dick, ass, and balls. I don't want more coffee. That's not going to make me feel good. That's not going to be greatness. But, I mean, like, if I call Tuesday, and if they're going to do scheduled surgery for, like, Wednesday, which is unlikely for it to be that soon, then I'm going to be emotional wreck on Tuesday, and I can't say, like, oh, I'll plan on being on stream, because no the fuck I won't. I'll be holding him and bawling my eyes out until my eyes don't open any more than this. I don't know. I mean, Chauncey would probably want to bite you, no offense, because man, he's just not a fan of men. He has to be very practiced in the art of knowing someone before accepting that, but he also might feel kind of kingly. Like, yes, I am being carried. I am the greatest dog ever. I think he would feel both. He would feel conflicted with his feelings. So he would feel fancy, but he would also feel bitey. It is a lot. I will agree with that. It is a lot. It is a sudden influx of difficult information, which I don't think anyone handles well. So I'm not going to be hard on myself for how I'm handling it. I just probably should have presented that a bit more mindfully instead of, because that's fun, you know? Yeah, we probably want to swaddle the alligator. Oh my goodness. And that's a wonderfully spoiled baby, to be fancy and bitey all in once.
Biggest Great Dane still wants to be puppy. Yeah, that's true. Ringo was a very, very puppy mood today. He was being a big naughty baby. Diesel was such a good boy today. I swear, when Ringo's extra naughty, Diesel is extra good. Like, I'm the golden child. I keep telling them they gotta figure out who's gonna fill the Chauncey shoes. Who's gonna be the big man on campus one day here. And that's just fucked. I don't know. I'm gonna say something really fucked up and then I'm gonna end the stream. I don't even know how to, like, word this. When my grandpa had a stroke and passed away, I was not prepared. I don't know how you are not prepared for a 90-something-year-old man to inevitably not have many years left, but I genuinely felt in my soul that my dad would have an angry moment and just have, like, a cardiac episode and yeet out of this world before my grandpa would. I genuinely, like, was prepared for losing my dad before losing my grandpa. It, like, was not a thought in my mind that I would ever lose my grandpa. And it feels like the same thing all over again. Because here, I've been spending all of this time, not all of this time, but consciously reminding myself, like, okay, you only have so much time with Pippi, you need to value it, you need to appreciate this time. Same thing with Munster, like, they're the oldest ones in the zoo, we need to, you know, give them extra love, but also be ready for the hard things. And, no, Chauncey's gonna be sick. Not that I want anything to happen to Pippi, I will fucking die when anything happens to Pippi. I don't know how to live without her, I don't know how to live without any of them. But I've been mentally preparing for that day, and now we have to prepare for this day, and it's ass. It's ass. It's not even ass and titties, it's just ass. I look forward to seeing Diesel off crate rest. Technically, he is off of crate rest now. It'll probably be, well, whenever the weather gets better. But it'll probably be about when Ringo starts training that I start getting him through rehab. Because Ringo starts training February 17th. So most of February, I'll miss you guys on Tuesdays, because Ringo got the trainings. Although, it's at 8. And it's like an hour. So we'll be back home by like 9:30. So maybe just late streams on Tuesdays in February. Truth is, you can't really prepare. Just try and enjoy the time you do have. That's 100% true. It is. You can remind yourself of the reality and kind of like make a end of the world preparedness kit emotionally, but until it actually happens, you don't know what it feels like. And I feel like every time you lose someone, whether it's a person or an animal, it feels different. I've never experienced the same grief twice. Like, there's never been a time where I can say, oh, I'm reacting like when XYZ happened, or this feels like when XYZ happened. It's unique every single time, and I guess that's a testament to how much love we have for them. They're just little innocent beings. I don't think you like being held like this, but you're going to let me hold you like this because you're cute. I don't know, I feel like that's such a horrible thought, like, being more prepared for my dad than my grandpa versus more prepared for Pippi than Chauncey, but... it's true. He's so cute. He's so cute. Alright, now that I've ruined everyone's night and crapped on everyone's Dawn of Voldemort day, I'm gonna feed the zoo and get some eeps. Like I said, I think Peebs will be streaming tomorrow. That way it can be up perfect time to call the vet in the morning. Hello. And I want to try and get Botrix or like something running on Twitch. This is driving me insane. I think the last time Nightbot posted, I looked, was in August. So that shit's been broken since August. I gotta fix that. There's a couple more things I'd like to try and get done. Some VODs I'd like to get uploaded. Some videos I'd like to get uploaded. So we'll try and do that in the background. And then Tuesday stream will be pending. Hopefully back by Thursday. Knock on wood. It's a good reminder for everyone to cherish what we have. That's true. It's just impossible to, I don't know, quantify these feelings. But very much so. Hug your loved ones. Tell them you love them. I'm gonna make myself cry again. Remind them how much value they add to your life and how important they are, and the magic of being able to experience life with them and make memories and share memories and just enjoy each other's company. It's a privilege, it's an honor, it's a blessing, it's something it's like time. It's not guaranteed in life that you have people that you love. People are animals too, animals are people too. The people that you love have people that love you in return, and it's hard not to, because we live in the moment, but we're so preoccupied with anxieties about the future and anxieties about the past and every other silly thing that we come up with in our mind, but to try and live in the moment and enjoy the moment with them. It's people you love, animals you love. Unconditional love is always worth taking the time for. It's always worth remembering and reflecting upon. I can't give motivational speeches. I just cry. Doesn't work well. Saint Serena tries to be saintly. Sometimes she's just a crybaby, though. And that's okay. I have a lot of feelings. I just do. On that tearful yet positive note, that is going to be our night for tonight, Club Cult. Motivates you to invest in Kleenex. Don't forget Band-Aids, too, and then you'll be rich. Oh my goodness. Alright. Dry these weepy eyes and tell you all how wonderful you are. You please try to get some sleep too. You guys have more intense Mondays than I do. Now I got flu. Gunther has infiltrated my tear zone. Now I just have to go take my makeup off. Wiping anything is pointless because I'm just going to put cat hairs in my eye. Gunther is having taken one for the team here. He's saving us. It was all spoken from the heart. It's true. I don't know. I feel like it sounds a little preachy, and I don't mean to be preachy, but time. It's a valuable commodity. You only get so much. You get what you get. You don't throw a fit. Make it count. Make it last as long as you can. Use your time as an investment into the energy of what is the greatest things you could ever experience. One of the greatest things you can ever experience is unconditional love. That's what animals are. Take as good care of you as you do to the zoo. I'm trying, with Voya having his little urinary spats. I'm trying hard to be my calm, most relaxed version of myself. The Zen Serena. Trying. Anyway. Low and slow DJ voice. I don't know what it is about my makeup, but I'm grateful for it. I can pretty much cry through it and just, bless you, bless you, bless you, like, disappears. It doesn't run down my face all crazy looking, which sometimes looks nice, like, content-wise. If you know, you know. But otherwise, it just, like, disappears as I cry. It doesn't really run. I don't know. It's interesting. Sometimes I cry my eyes out, and I go to look in the mirror, and I think, oh god, you're gonna look like a raccoon, and really it's just like there's barely any makeup left. Maybe I have really acidic tears, and it just dissolves it. You can be preachy on your own channel or here by choice. That's right, listen to your leader. I demand it. What I also demand is that you all remember that you are. I see you over there, the Mad Topher. And Doge hug. Oh, I appreciate you. It's cute. It's very cute. Do me one favor until I see you Bebs next, and that is highlight a Voya. Telling me he's the most handsome boy in the world. Remember that you are wonderful, amazing, spectacular, phenomenal, oh so amazing, oh so gorgeous, and all the good things in the world. And the most amazing human beings for tolerating my minor emotional breakdown. Cough, cough. Didn't happen. Maybe, kind of. Thank you. Take all those compliments and put them in your back pocket, your side pocket, your cute little hoodie pocket, your adorable shirt pocket, floating suspended animation, headless streamer, let's go. Hello, Gunther, that's your spot. Okay. Creaky chair. You get some mineral oil out tomorrow. You gotta go hunting for the oil of the minerals. They're not rocks, Marie, they're minerals. I don't know why that's so funny right now, but it is. Gunther, I love you. Hold on to those dearly until I see you next, Club Gold. Thank you for a wonderful night. Thank you for being the amazing humans that you are. Thank you for all of your kind words. Despite it all, it is a very beautiful thing to be so supported through difficult things in life, and thank you. Thank you all. Shall see you babes again soon. Thinking Tuesday or Thursday, and Peebs will see you all. Sounds like saying Peeves, like from Harry Potter. Peeves, no Peebs. Little baby Peeby. Pretty little baby. We'll see you all tomorrow for some Meownday wind down from the world. I like that, I do. Alright, Gunther, say night. Say night. It's like already passed out of the chair. Get some good eats tonight. Get some good eats. Make good choices. Don't do anything I or Voya wouldn't do. And Voya does a lot of things, so I don't know. Use your own discretion for that one. I shall catch you, Bebs, for the next one. Thank you again for everything, and thank you for being use. A good rest of your night, Club Cult.